glad you made it. Today on the Writer Roundtable, we are going to talk about marketing and promotion, a subject near and dear to my heart, and a subject that's near and dear to many other people's hearts because we have so many guests. I'm so happy to introduce you to Megan. Megan
Hello.
is here. And the lovely Zara. Zara made it. And Robert also made it. And of course, you know him. I adore him. My best friend and brother, Tom, our technical producer, has also made it. Despite many car problems yesterday.
Ooh.
Yes. So here we are. It's a grand day. It's a Monday. My apologies to everyone. But I know, what a day. The last Monday of June. We are all preparing for Camp Nano, or maybe we're not all preparing. Maybe some of us are preparing and some of us are in denial. I'm not sure. I had no Camp Nano project until literally last night. So, would anyone like to introduce themselves? Nope, no one. Everybody's like, we're good. Thank you so much. Then you know what? I'll just go straight on to chat. Mercurial Writer is here. Hello, darling.
Hello.
Tom is here doing double duty in the chat. Hello, hello. Megan is also doing double duty in the chat because I like to say double duty. Regina is here. Hello, darling. And also wishing us all a happy Monday. I hope it goes well. CB is here. Hello, sweetie. CB says they did their prep last week. So we made it, and that is to be applauded. I'm very proud of all of us for making it here. I gather everybody's having a rough time, or most people. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. But anyhow, today's episode is about marketing and promotion. So the basic idea of this show is that writers share writerly tips, if you will, about the non-writing side of writing. Does that make sense? If we're playing a drinking game, is everybody starting to feel tipsy from just drinking every time I say writing?
I think the answer is alcohol poisoning.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So the thing about having a small business that's centered around being a writer is that most of the other advice doesn't exactly work for writers. And that's why we're specifically talking about the business side of writing from a writer's perspective. Because it's just different enough that everyone else's like blanket advice doesn't necessarily work for us. That's the whole point of the show. That's it. As well as I just thought it would be great to like kind of help build community, y'all. That was like honestly my original idea. So today's idea for today's specific show about marketing and promotion has to do with this kind of a bugbear of an issue. How do you market and promote yourself, your writing, your stories, a specific story in general or in particular, without feeling like a jerk? And also, if possible, without spending tons of money. How is it possible? Could we do it? Is this a pipe dream? I have my own opinions, but that is why we have assembled our writer table today.
I swear when you said assemble, I was ready for you to say writing Avengers or something like that.
Like writing Avengers. Okay, no. But I mean, if we could get hats next time, that would be great. You laugh, but next June I might have you all mailed hats.
See, and you act like that would be an awesome surprise for me to get in the mail.
Like, I can crochet crowns, right? So
maybe you should see me in a crown. Isn't that
that's how I feel. Like everybody here, I believe, would look amazing in crowns. I may show you my crown after the first bio break because I know exactly where it is. I just have to get up and go get it. So anyhow, I'm just saying, I could do that, make things happen. So that is the whole point of today's show. And with that, we have our lovely writers and who also have outside experience in marketing and promotion. for a variety of reasons and a variety of formats. Everyone here has various experience with marketing promotion, both marketing promotion, writerly things, as well as outside of that, others business side. So there, I'm done talking. I'm great. I'm going to sit back, and if y'all need me, let me know. Would anyone like to start with their hot takes?
I think I'll start with some of the notes that I had written up so we can get those out of the way. So there are two types of marketing strategies out there. There's inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Outbound marketing is everything you do to reach out to your target audience, while inbound marketing is everything you do to attract your target audience to you. Advertisements are a form of outbound marketing, while social media and blogging are forms of inbound marketing. And outbound marketing typically costs more upfront but gets results faster, while inbound marketing is typically free but takes a lot of time to create and get results. It's usually best to have a healthy mix of both strategies when you're coming up with a marketing strategy for your product. Which in this case would be a book, or maybe even yourself if you're trying to market your YouTube channel. And I think that's most of what I had for my notes. So any questions or comments?
No, just thinking about how some of the terminology has kind of adjusted over the years. You know, we were talking before the show about like outbound marketing, like I'm used to it being called direct response marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're trying to literally contact a potential customer or a potential consumer of your product. Versus, honestly, it's so old that when I got started in the biz, social media really wasn't much of a thing. Everybody had like web pages, like GeoCities sold, and I think MySpace, which had just started. I hate that I'm aging myself here, but
don't kick me off because I'm younger than you all.
But like, so social media wasn't really what you could do. It wasn't much of an option. You could say, "Here, I have a website or a web page." But the vast majority of people weren't going to go to it because phones really couldn't access the internet yet. And most people weren't going to remember to go when they were in front of a computer. As well as, this is back in the days of brick and mortar.
Dark days. Not the brick and mortar part, but the not having the internet in your phone.
It felt so dark. Yeah. Like I had both. At one point, I was juggling a video store and a comic book shop at the same time. And social media would have been so helpful for both and didn't even exist. We literally would post updates on the glass in front of in the window of the stores if we had updates that, like how people would update Facebook or Instagram now. We literally would handwrite out a note of like, this will not be available on Wednesday. It's been delayed by 2 weeks. Don't ask. You know,
but I'm sure that's better than what some places were doing. Who like never even thought to do that at all, and then
it does remind me though of the difference and sort of how they've evolved is inbound marketing as we now use it used to be forms of reputation management, including also it's not that new. It's actually a fairly old thing of paying newspapers to do article pieces on you, of essentially getting yourself known for just being something people like.
Yes.
I mean, my favorite. I was just listening to I don't remember what, some podcast, and they were talking and they were asking someone if as a quiz question, how did Red Bull first become popular in America? And they're like, I have no idea. And they're like, the guy literally paid popular college students to go throw Red Bull parties.
He got influencers.
Before, way back.
30 plus years ago, of the That's it. Like, things haven't changed that much. It's just more people have gotten to know what these tools are.
Mhm.
But they were always useful and valid, and they still are. And that's sort of to kind of keep in mind of things haven't changed much. It's just, what access to those tools have. I mean, it's now a lot easier to make your reputation and interact with people through social media. Instagram and Twitter and everything else, they're free to do and set up. But it is, as said, like, it is a lot of effort. You do have to keep interacting.
It is.
Yeah.
Social media, so much of it is the preliminary work, and great. You understand the marketing. You build a certain degree of people coming into your platform, so you don't look like you're starting from scratch. But it almost goes nowhere until you have something out there that people are reading and looking at, and with some kind of numbers. Most of it, comic books or any part of the entertainment world, is done after the fact. And all of that stuff you do in the preliminary stages helps. But you guys ran a comic shop, so you know that they built superstars simply by saying superstar, Mark Bagley. Do you remember when they would attach that to his name and attach other people's names?
Sorry, Robert, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh.
So I think I missed an important bit of something you were saying about comic book shops.
You're kind of far away from the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a bit better.
Doesn't attach well to my iPad for some reason. But you guys remember they would attach a name like Mark Bagley would be superstar Mark Bagley. And
Yes.
they did that to various writers and artists over the years. And I was working for a rival company when they started doing it with Mark Bagley, and I remember other editors saying, since when did Mark Bagley become a superstar? Ha ha. But very soon he did. So you can't be afraid to toot your own horn a little bit. Not to so much call yourself a superstar, but your promoting does resonate with other people. And another thing I don't see anybody doing is writing a Wikipedia article. You can't post it yourself, it doesn't look good. But everybody has a Wikipedia article, and if they want to Google you, that's one of the first things that come up. And if you don't have to put a biography like some people have, but at least have your credits down there, and, what incited you to do this, and make it sound interesting. And I think you have to be cited 3 times for the article to take. But for example, I've been cited in many different artists and writers I've worked with their Wikipedia pages, and yet I don't have one myself. Nobody ever wrote one, so I am personally going to write one myself about my comic book career and then update it with the writing stuff. And since I already have all those different people citing me, it'll be more easy to get recognition.
Yeah, it does bring up you do bring up a good point about marketing and promotion is not the place for what do you call it? Modesty.
Yeah.
Humans judge everything by whatever's the first concept they hear, and then everything else is judged against that. In A-B situation, they can't compare a whole bunch of things simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So they'll hold on to one idea, whatever's the first idea, which is why in politics you always see people trying to get out at the front to set the story, because people will then judge everything else against that first story they heard, that first version. And so when you are doing your marketing and you're doing your promotions, you want to talk in very glowing, positive ways. Yes, it is absolutely cheesy. Yes, everyone goes, well, of course you're saying that. It's your own stuff. But they still have those words associated with you in their mind.
Mm-hmm. And they may be a little bit grumbly, like, how did this person get to be a superstar? But that will quickly fade into, you are a superstar. Mm-hmm. I was looking up a writer just the other day that I'd never heard of, and when I looked him up, the Wikipedia article came up, and there I saw a superstar writer, and I'm like, what has he done? And it's like, okay, he's worked on few big comic projects, but they use that in conjunction with his name, and he's a superstar writer in the industry, apparently. It says so right on his Wikipedia article.
I will say for Wikipedia pages, I know that the Super Carlin brothers, who have a super popular YouTube channel and a podcast and, do a lot of things, they're fans of their podcast, who they call Little Colonels because it's called Popcorn Culture, have been trying to create a Wikipedia page for them and then linking it to their high school's notable graduates, and they keep getting shot down by Wikipedia. So it's not simply having someone else write it for you. It still gets vetted through people who work for Wikipedia. Yeah. So there is some difficulty in getting that, but it is, if you can get it, it's amazing. I
will say, as a librarian, they make it very clear that Wikipedia has much more stringent standards for wiki articles about living people than people who are dead, or, for instance, like landmarks, which are not people. So it is much more difficult to get a page established and maintained if you're a living person. When and I've had personal experience with that because someone started a Wikipedia article about me when I was writing in the sex column at my university newspaper, and the university president tried to have me expelled specifically for writing this article and it being published in the school newspaper. And it made international news. So somebody established a Wikipedia article about it. However, there was very little they could keep in it because of Wikipedia's standards about living people, and because the news hadn't picked up on it yet, so there weren't that many articles they could cite. So essentially, a lot of what had initially been put in the Wikipedia article was information from various bulletin boards, which are not vetted. So just an FYI about Wikipedia does have different standards for different kinds of articles, or when the subjects are different, they do have different standards. So just be aware of that. And if anybody is interested in essentially becoming a Wikipedia poster or editor, I would be happy to send you free information about how to be trained by Wikipedia to do this, because when I was at the library, they were going through and trying to train a lot of librarians for this. So I still have those resources. If anybody is interested, they are all free, by the way.
I'd like to.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's great for like local landmarks and things. Like there in our area in South Mississippi, there are so many civil rights landmarks, and most of them don't have Wikipedia pages, which is like blows my mind. I mean, literally buildings were torched because of who they were registering to vote, the color of people's skin, who they're registering to vote. And there's no Wikipedia articles to this day about it. So I think there's like most people, like wherever they live geographically, there are really great ways to write articles that, again, you don't have to worry about the higher standard required for writing about living people. So essentially it's much easier to get your badges and your, level up and stuff as a Wikipedia poster.
And it might be more difficult for people just starting out, which I didn't really think about, but yeah. Because you're not going to have those links already established. It's going to take a little while.
But yeah, like Wikipedia's trying to push people having wiki parties where everybody gets together and gets their list of pages to make about, like, for instance, landmarks, or update them. And everybody's in a room together. I mean, this is pre-pandemic, but they wanted people to have regular wiki parties so that people could also get those pages approved. You have to have so many other editors read the page and agree that this is factually correct in order to get it approved, and then essentially get your little badge that you've now done this work. But when you're in a group of 15 or more, it's much easier and faster to essentially level up as a wiki writer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, nowadays it would seem Wikipedia probably has much more stringent standards than most news companies.
Oh, they absolutely do.
I think it's because they had such a reputation for being so bad that then they swung the other way.
I mean, but like the standards they have about living people are good standards to have. Like you can't just write gossip about people. These are real people, and to kill their reputation is really a terrible thing to do.
It's also called libel and is suable. So
very suable. Not that everyone has the money, but nevertheless, it's not a good thing. Well, before we move on, I just want to point out Doll has joined us. Hello, Doll.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
And also Nia joined us as well. And then I think there was a Laura Nettle somewhere scrolling. She's here. She's just at a work meeting. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. But I didn't want to overlook anybody.
All right, so on to the next.
Regina points out one thing we can do is mention each other on our websites, coffee pages, newsletters, blogs, etc.
Yes, with Ko-fi pages, all you need to do is the @ and then the person's username, which is the after the slash in the ko-fi.com/. Sometimes it doesn't always work, and if it doesn't work for a post of one of yours, you can always DM me on Instagram, and then I can report it to them and just be like, "There's a bug." Because they're constantly fixing things, and that normally in the process breaks something. So we're very active in the ambassador Discord, just letting them know when things don't work, and then they normally fix it within 24 hours.
If we could get more creators to cooperate and mention one another's websites, for example, that creates the sublinks, and all of that does help. Because when people are trying to find you in searches or whatever, you look for those keywords and tags, and all that can help a lot. There is a company that I purchased from. It was actually a company that sells lightsabers, and they had a really lousy reputation, but all of the bad talk about people create thousands of sublinks, and it all helped them come up in the #1 slot every time somebody did a search. And I'm like, all that hate to their advantage. So the more people are talking about you, the more it does help. And good publicity, bad publicity, it's all publicity.
It's true.
Yeah, someone mentioned, I saw recently of, hey, who remembers Clout? With a K.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The meaning, or like something that?
No, it's a
website.
website that ranked your clout on social media. So you would connect your social media websites, and it would give you a number to determine your clout, like how influential you are, how much clout you're.
So Social Blade now.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Social Blade, but I assume so.
It's basically what everyone was watching when Tati and James Charles and Jeffree Star were all in it at each other. People were like live watching and live streaming on like Twitch and Twitter and being like, "Oh my God, look at the numbers drop!" And I'm like, I have better things to do.
They made some kind of change on account of that, where people couldn't actually do a direct feed to somebody's subscriber count plummeting. But yeah, my significant other watched all that, and I tuned in because it was just so outrageous.
It was funny. I will admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggle with all this because I try my very, very best to keep things peaceful, like zero drama. I don't like online drama or drama in general. I'm a very leave me alone kind of person. So the whole creating cloud thing, it's like, no, this is not why I have an online presence. No. But I realize that that's not very beneficial for me. So that's something I will have to put up. It's like whenever someone tries to bring on some drama on me for whatever reason, I'm going to simply block. And I'm going to move away, and there's not going to be a YouTube video announcing the drama. No, nothing. I'm like, I just block you. You don't exist anymore. Bye-bye. And
it's like a book review. You don't respond.
Mm-hmm.
No, but some people do respond precisely because it's like drama, and people just bring in the popcorn and they start watching, and, it creates that online whatever, and I avoid it so hard. It's like, I've had some people know here, trusted people know that I've had my bad experiences. Have you ever seen me bring it up to the public? No, and I won't. It's just I avoid it. I avoid it too hard, and I know that's going to make my online growth as an artist difficult, because I try to keep it positive, if that makes any sense.
I don't think. Okay, I understand why you think it's going to make it hard, but like two author tubers who I can think of off the top of my head are both obviously both named Sarah, but like Sarah LeBrat and Sarah Sutton are both like the most positive ladies on, you know, like not in competition with other people, but they're like super positive, nothing negative unless they're like, oh, I had a bad writing day, you know, I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be in one of their vlogs or whatever. And they both got monetized very quickly. They got a lot of subscribers within a year of creating their channels, and I you know, was so happy to see that for them. And Sarah Sutton has gotten some haters, which, you know, hurts my soul because it really affects her. But like,
What? I mean,
you,
like, seriously,
you can be nice and succeed. And I do think AuthorTube is one of the places where that's more possible than other places. But like in the musical theater world, people will go in thinking that they're like the hottest shit ever. And if you're rude to people, no one wants to work with you. So you get knocked down a peg very quickly. Whereas the BeautyTube community is all about drama. And, you know, aside from people losing subscribers, they still, you know, get the rankings that Robert was talking about, where it's like bad press for them is still press. And they have enough diehard fans that it doesn't matter. And then people forget about the drama and either resubscribe because they, you know, they're like, oh, whatever. Or they never unsubscribed and are like, oh, I'm going to buy the new thing anyway because it's so popular and I want to be like the beauty YouTubers.
That's what I mean. It's like it creates this kind of algorithm pleasing whatever, and then they just move on, and I just cannot handle that kind of situation. I just cannot. I would share with Sarah Sutton, it would affect, well, it does affect me. The few times I've had my own feathers ruffled or whatever, I take a break. I take a hiatus. You don't see me for 3 months. It's like, bye-bye. I don't want to talk to nobody. It does affect me quite a lot. And I'm like, that's not the purpose of why I have an online presence. I'm here for my stories and my writing. So I feel bad for Sarah Sutton. I had no idea she had haters like that. And I'm just going to avoid it the best I can.
The reason AuthorTube has that drama is the people that initially started it with their whole tea thing is they wanted to be like the
BeautyTube
drama. Yeah, they wanted to emulate that. And nobody makes it in the entertainment world when you're doing that. BeautyTube is a completely different thing. And unfortunately, YouTube does feed off that drama because they get a lot of views on it, and people think they want to do the same. But no, you go to a publisher or you put your work out there, readers and publishers, they don't want to see that. They'll just label you difficult to work with, and you'll make it a lot harder.
That's a great point. That's my first thought, is like, I don't want a literary agent getting into my channel and seeing something that's very unpleasant. And it's like, is she hard to work with? Maybe I shouldn't represent her. If I'm pursuing traditional publishing, I have to be very cautious about what I put outside, you know, what I put in the public light.
Yeah.
Well, the real difference though between BeautyTube and places like, you know, AuthorTube is BeautyTube, the product is their entertainment value. You know, they are just like, you know, the Real Housewives or anything else Andy Cohen puts out. The entire product is the drama. Versus, you know, AuthorTube and writers and everything, our product is an actual product we put out that is independent of us. And so that's something to keep in mind. It's a what is your actual product? BeautyTube is all about information and drama. Mm-hmm. They are never going to be, you know, their product is not as a for hire makeup artist. That's not where they will ever make, you know, their money.
Yeah, the beauty community is a bit more cutthroat, I guess, but it's you wonder how much of it is staged because they keep doing this and then they'll come back and start the next war and the next one. Like, how many wars can they go through without being banned from YouTube? Except YouTube is making a lot of money off of it, so they don't, and they can get away with murder, or just short of it. But then they go back and they do the same thing. And there's like a victim, like who's that one guy? Peter Mon, but then every time he plays the victim, his subscriber count goes up, and then
yeah. Well, I think like BeautyTube is selling a personality,
yeah.
and with AuthorTube, we're selling an actual story. One way or another, we're selling stories, and so it's different since we're not selling personality.
Mhm.
And that audience is different.
It's a very different audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in addition to us not selling personality, I do think people are much more likely to hold the author accountable to the book. Like, even though we have a product to actually sell, you know, like, okay, yes, a makeup palette is a product, but like, that's not really why you buy the makeup palette. You buy it because X person put it out.
Right.
But, you know, a lot of people started boycotting J.K. Rowling because of her thing or whatever, you know, and that's totally in their right. And then when Jay Kristoff came out with his anti-Semitic stuff, and you know, his friends who were debut authors and also did stuff like that. You know, people were like, "Oh, he's canceled." And granted, I a few weeks ago saw a BookBox was like making him like their star author for the summer, and I'm thinking, "Oof, that I would not have done that." But like in general, like BookTube, while it's constantly a dumpster fire because they're always canceling authors, at the same time, they're canceling authors because they've done shitty things. And it sticks longer than the BeautyTube drama where it's like, oh, what's their latest scandal? Okay, it doesn't really matter to them because they're still making millions of dollars.
I will say, like, part of it has to do with, as you said, the audience is different. I just want to point out a recent study that came out, again, pointing out that readers reading stories, especially fiction, makes people more empathetic. And I think that definitely influences the kind of audience we deal with versus the kind of audience BeautyTube and other such corners of YouTube deal with. Of literally the act of reading fiction makes people more empathetic and therefore more conscious and aware of the negative impacts of toxic environments. So we kind of have a unique audience that not every other corner of YouTube has, or not even every corner of Twitter and Instagram has. Like readers,
the internet, period.
Yeah, of like we have a very unique group, and again, that is why I really, from the start, wanted to do a marketing and promotion episode, and we'll be doing a second one in July, y'all. So if you like this one, stick around. Since I'm bringing it up, be sure to click like if you're enjoying yourself. Maybe subscribe if you haven't. And if you have subscribed, could I suggest ringing the bell? It is helpful. They'll let you know eventually. Because we will be doing a second episode. We can't get it all into this one because the nature of what we are doing here as writers is just different enough that it's hard to apply other small business strategies specifically directly to marketing and promoting writing.
I wanted
in
to
part because our
say
audience is
something
so
about that.
different from the vast majority of the rest of the planet, apparently, because our
This is
audience is empathetic. How cool is that?
This is why marketing advice on like free marketing advice from all those social media experts on YouTube and whatever. This is why sometimes it doesn't apply to us because it's like, yeah, okay, great, that works for Beautygram or whatever, but it doesn't work for me. I'm a writer. What do I do? And they give you like tips and tricks and hacks and all this stuff, and you're like, but I'm a writer. How do I apply that to the writing niche? And it's like no one ever gives marketing advice for artists. They just like, oh well, I mean, for artists it's going to be harder because, you know, it's more subjective and blah blah blah. And I'm okay, buddy, I'm an artist, bye. And I just click away from those videos like, okay, I didn't learn anything for my specific needs with all this generalized advice for whatever. And that's another struggle that a lot of us face, I guess.
Well, a lot of marketing advice now you tend to see is for how to get people to go with immediate gratification. to do an old school equivalent, it's for the impulse buys next to the cash register. That's what most of the social media, that's what most marketing stuff talks about now, because it's very ephemeral what they're trying to sell and get people to interact with. But we've got a more traditional type product where you need people to think about it long enough to go through a few steps to purchase and then receive it a little bit later, and then it takes a little while to enjoy it and use it. So you do actually have to use more of an old school type approach, which does take a longer, slower burn to see effects.
Right.
It's also just the opposite of what they do on BeautyTube. Readers generally want to like writers, and they like writers. Like our slice of life is showing people what we're passionate about. And when they understand your passions and things that you like, even if it's like cornflakes or whatever, and, you know, it's like, dude.
Yeah, no one wants to associate cornflakes with, people having a hackney cough, and choking on stuff. Like, people are not like, you know what? I want those cornflakes. It's like, any negative thoughts about cornflakes, suddenly you don't want those kind of cornflakes.
Right. I don't want them in my body. Okay, thanks so much. I don't want them in my house. What if they give people bad thought? No, thank you. Hard pass.
And basically what brought it to being creative and, what we like in terms of books or movies and things like that. I mean, and little things like Neil Gaiman does. I mean, he's signed with some book shops and airports and things like that. And it's different ways to connect with readers and say, hey, I'm here for you. And, here's what I'm really passionate about. Are you passionate about that too? You make that connection between what they're passionate about and their entertainment. And so much of our life is filled with entertainment that almost no matter what you pick and throw out there, you're going to find an audience that likes very similar things.
I think Neil Gaiman is a particularly good example of an author who has really figured out a way to connect with their audience. Even just watching how he interacts with his audience is a great way to get ideas for your own marketing and how to connect with your own readers, just because he's just so skilled at it. And I think I'm going to plug a book here. His ex-wife, Amanda Palmer, The Art of Asking. That was a perfect non-marketing marketing book because it teaches you how to connect with your audience on a different level than just here's a product, why don't you buy it kind of deal.
Yeah, also great for crowdfunding because that's what she does with all her albums. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he also has that voice, so he just sits back and talk about no drama. He's just very soothing and
in my publishing program, I've taken multiple marketing classes, but I think more relevant to authors is actually the startup classes that I've taken, where if you're creating a startup or a small company, whatever you want to call it, someone said that they don't like the term authorpreneur because you're not just a single person. Like the idea is that like you said that you were the one who said you didn't like authorpreneur because we're a small business and we're creating multiple books and with multiple products and we need to diversify income. That was you. And in my startup classes, basically to get investors, and this is slightly different, but the idea is that our readers are kind of our investors because they're paying for what we are offering. In addition to being our customers, you need to offer a unique value proposition. And that normally is, you have this problem, here's our solution. And if you write fiction, that's always like, oh, you're solving boredom. So you have to then say what's unique about your writing and your story and things like that, which is why authors sometimes have taglines. And I'm blanking on what Jessie Elliott's is right now, but hers is like, it mentions that there's sass, but also like romance and, you know what you're going to get from her, even though her genres are always different. And with you need to tell people what you're giving them. And then prove to them that you're worth the investment versus here's the thing. Like, it's not if you build it, they will come, even though because we are an author community, like we all kind of find each other, and then, we're also all readers, but technically we shouldn't necessarily be marketing to other authors. We want to be marketing to readers, and some of those readers might also be authors.
Yeah. And if you think about it, even though we're not marketing to other writers, what we have in miniature is kind of like what our audience does. What I was talking about, readers liking writers, if you think about it, we do the same thing. The people that self-publish, who we watch their videos and who we like, we have no problem buying their book. It doesn't matter. We've never read it. We don't know what the story's about or the quality. You're going to buy their book just because you like them. Whereas somebody who's blasting your friends, like whoever blasted Sarah, you're going to think twice on buying their book just because, they're a negative person. So it shows even among writers. But readers are kind of like blowing that out in sort of large proportion, but very similar. It's reaching them that becomes the problem. If you can reach enough people, then...
So, should we talk about reaching?
Yeah.
Readers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the big deal, right? Like, as a writer, I find it so much easier motivation if I know there's somebody waiting to read a story I'm already working on.
Mm-hmm.
And preferably if there's and honestly, it's a bigger motivation. The more people I can think of are waiting for the story to come out, the stronger the motivation. I don't know that everybody's like that, but for me, I definitely look forward to people being able to read and consume my stories.
I think when you know that there are more than just one person, or even if you're like, I hope someone's out there. I think when you know that there are people who actually want your stuff, you are more motivated because you're excited to deliver, and also you want to know what their reaction is. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like the more people, the better. Now, granted, I guess like at a certain point, it gets to be a little too much. I think that's where we're told some of that idea. What is it? The sophomore problem, the sophomore novel issue, where you're like, oh, everybody's expecting me to produce quality, and I don't know if it's just crap. And I say that as somebody who's actually experienced it. When I was writing for a regional magazine several years ago, while I was a librarian, I sort of blew up as that. Like everyone in town was able to get this magazine because it was so freely distributed. And people were literally coming to my library asking, what are you going to write about next? And it was like, it wasn't one person. It was one person an hour coming for days and weeks.
That's different a lot people. Of pressure.
Not like the same person, which, okay, that's just, they're having no oddness. No. I mean, like strangers who had heard that I worked at this particular library branch and were like driving from other towns to come talk to me, see who I am, and ask what I would write about next because they wanted to be able to check out that book now.
It's word of mouth.
And it was wonderful, but it was also intimidating. And to deliver like that, so like that's where I'm like, I could see where for some people that motivation might be a demotivator. But nevertheless, with the internet, it can be nice since you don't know where they live and they can only contact you if you check, your Twitter or email or whatever.
It's your decision to check those inboxes.
Right. And so you could put it off for a little while. So, but nevertheless, I think it's important, even if we're not talking about money side, it is important to have readers and for readers to be able to connect with you when you have new stuff that you want them to read.
That's why I'm for crowdfunding, because just like AuthorTube is for writers, if you crowdfund something on Kickstarter, they are readers who are looking to promote material they want to read. So you automatically have several hundred people who are going to have your book, and if they like it, talk about it with other readers.
I'm going to do my duty as a Ko-fi ambassador and say that do Ko-fi instead. They don't take any percentage of your donations.
I have had very good experiences with Ko-fi, so I can agree. Ko-fi has been very nice. By the way, everybody's Ko-fi accounts that I know of are posted below.
Also, if you create a Ko-fi, I can gift you a year of gold for free, which means that if you sell stuff through your shop or through commissions, you don't have to give 5% to Ko-fi. That's the only thing they take from. If you're a free account, they won't ever take from donations, and that will include tiers once they go live for everyone.
I do have an account.
I have one, and maybe I should move to that one more than Patreon. I don't know. I will decide. But like, my thing with crowdfunding is my fear of I am writing in a very tiny genre that nobody usually reads. Because that's the first thing that everybody tells me on social media. I don't usually read sci-fi, but you sound intriguing. And I don't usually read sci-fi, but. And I'm like, okay, you're not my reader. I don't get it.
But that's okay, because I have, I have author tubers who have been very vocal fans of mine, which is great. Thank you, Regina and Vixen of Fiction, and others who I know are not here at the very least. And some of them have been like, Regina wrote an alien romance, so obviously she was interested in the one that I wrote. But Kelly Wright, who's another author tuber, is like, oh, I don't really read sci-fi and I don't read that much romance, but I really like your book, which had both. So just because someone says I don't normally read in this genre, but you sound interesting, you want them. Like, you don't want to shut them out, because if they're interested in you, then
but good. I don't shut them out. I genuinely don't, because great. But why do you tell me the first thing you tell me is I usually don't read? Like, you're like already kind of intimidating me. To just because I write something that people, like 99% people that I see on social media, tell me I usually don't read sci-fi, and I'm like, then what happened here?
Most people we're associated with in our social media are YA fantasy writers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them tell me, hey, when I get done with my book, would you be willing to read it? Because they seem to be on ball with their craft, and they're like, no, I wouldn't be able to critique that because it's not what I read. And I'm like, but it's writing. I believe people should expand a bit beyond that, but don't be intimidated.
I am scared. I'm genuinely scared. Like, is it just that they want to support me because I'm the blind kid in the block? That's in my head. It's always in my mind.
You also just never know, like, what is it that might be interesting to them about the concept. I mean,
mm-hmm.
You never know if you're going to be the introduction to the genre for that person. Like, they might discover that they love the genre because of the way that you wrote it out, and it might be a segue for them into the genre.
Yeah.
Mine is very for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And it, okay, I had the Golden Compass from a very young age, but other epic fantasies scared me for a very long time. Yes, and it wasn't until I read, which it doesn't really count as an epic fantasy, maybe to some people, but the Graceling Realm series. Mm-hmm. So, it was written in a very accessible way with awesome characters, and it got me sucked in. And then I was no longer like, oh, that's fantasy, I'm not into that. Granted, I still kind of had that opinion of adult fantasy because of the amount of triggering content that male writers tend to just throw in there, that I don't want that in what I'm reading. But you never know what someone's gonna like, and they might see it as a compliment, where they're like, I normally don't read this genre, but I'm interested in your book. And they probably don't even realize that they're making you feel insecure, where it's like,
they are scaring the
crap out of genre.
They really are scaring the crap out of me, because I have a very depressive mindset. And I start to think that it's all hypocrisy, and people just follow me online because I'm the blind kid, and kind of like a pity party kind of thing. And I'm over here like, no, my depression lies. Thank you, Glory, for that advice. Because when I get that kind of thing in my head, I'm like, no, it's just depression talking. Don't listen to that. But I admit it. I own it. I have thought about it.
No offense, strangers are not going to throw money at you, or if it's a pity party. Like, people in real life might, if it's a pity party, and that's
Thank you.
And your brain is still lying to you. But if a stranger is reaching out to you and being like, oh, I may be interested in your thing, they're not giving you pity. Like
Thank
they
you.
have so many other things that they could be doing online, whether they're going to be a troll for someone, which why on earth people even
That
waste
is
their
true.
time on that, or they're going to devote all their time to people they're already fans of. So if they're being like, I could maybe become a fan of yours, then take them at their word for it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just very scared of everything, and that's something I need to overcome, and I'm aware of it, so I own it. It's my flaw. I'm always afraid that it's just hypocrisy. I'm afraid. It's just something that I need to work on. Because since everyone is like trying to start their own small business, everyone wants to be nice to each other because we are all in the same boat, and shalala shalala shalala. It's just my brain is. You don't want to live with this brain. That thing between my ears, that's called between my ears, is a bad neighborhood. I'm quoting a famous person, but I relate so much. I do relate a lot.
To characters, because in my mind, science fiction and fantasy are pretty closely linked. I mean, they both have concepts that are, I guess, similar, except one is magic and one is science, but they're both, like flip sides of the same coin in many ways. So it's a matter of getting out there beyond AuthorTube and finding the audience. I mean, I'm wondering too, whenever I hear this, I wonder what these people are watching on TV, because while there are a lot of fantasy shows, there's a lot of science fiction shows too. And when your fantasy show's not on, what else are you watching? Are you watching only that one genre and ignoring everything else? Where does your entertainment take you? And it's bound to take you to your reading. But I think they get hooked on that idea of read everything in the genre. And they too are afraid. They feel if they don't know their genre and they're not so dedicated to it, that they're somehow going to slip up.
That's true. That's a fair point.
Yeah. I think it's just the young and also fearful writer having fear on the opposite end of that spectrum that you're from, and possibly why you're sensing it.
Good point. So I think on that note, maybe now is a good time to do a bio break.
Yay!
I could definitely go for a little moment. So,
me too.
I'll be honest, the coffee's kicking in, y'all. So,
go for it. Go for it.
Look, the body be bodying.
Can I request the spaceship timer, given we were talking about sci-fi? Or the puppy timer, given my dog just got boarded and I won't see her for a week and a half.
Okay, give me a moment, because I've got Maggie's timer of aspens at dawn. So
I'm sorry. If you already have something queued up, I don't want to impose.
We can make the things happen. It's totally possible. We live in the world of tomorrow, and it's fantastic. So yes, we can be on the spaceship. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great as soon as I find it. I'm so sorry about your baby being bored. I mean, I understand it's necessary because, they're not able to take care of themselves when we're not there.
It's mostly she's not invited to most of my family. Which, yes, I'm still bitter about 9 years later.
I would be too.
Who doesn't love the baby? Anyway, all right.
Families are
family. Families are family.
Don't get me started because we have a break.
Yes. Okay. So there we go. I was like, why aren't you doing the thing? All right, y'all. So here we are. We're about to go to a 10-minute bio break. It's time to get the water, hydrate or dehydrate, maybe stretch, do the things, maybe a snack. I'm just throwing that out there, y'all.
Some people might have to dehydrate before they hydrate more.
So do the bio part of the bio break and dehydrate and then hydrate again. It's a process. It's a loop that is never ending because we have bodies. I know. Regina, I feel that too. I feel it deep in my heart. But babies, I love our fur babies so much. So and then we'll meet you back here in 10 minutes. So here's 10 minutes aboard, a random starship. Cough, cough. All right. Beep, 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 beep. I did not feel like listening to the klaxons today. I'm so sorry if anybody was like looking forward to the red alert sound, but I just wasn't up for it today. Alrighty. So we're back.
Yay!
Woo.
We made it, despite everything. Let me go ahead and just make a quick statement before we all talk about what, if anything, interesting we may have accomplished in our 10-minute bio break. It is not our intention to mod any chatters' personal opinions about anything. The point of having moderators is merely to protect all the chatters and any viewers from trolls. Trolls being rude, offensive, ugly, hateful. That's it. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page about that is our point with having mods. And since there have been more trolls than normal this month, we have a bunch of mods. So, anyhow, how'd everyone's break go?
Good.
I have a banana shake.
I have water.
It
I've
may or may
got,
not be spiked with banana schnapps.
That sounds delicious.
Yum.
It actually is really good, y'all. Like, it's very banana-y and delicious, and it's very fluffy. Because all it is bananas, milk, and ice blended with a little bit of banana schnapps, optional. And because of the nature of it, it actually is a quite light and fluffy shake. So highly recommend. Also, you know, you get the nutrition and fiber of a banana in there. I'm throwing that out there. It was our mom's recipe. She got pregnant with several kids on this recipe. So, hey.
I've been testing out a new, recipes for hibiscus tea,
Ooh,
and came across, apparently there's a common one in Mexico called it's spelled Jamaica, but it's pronounced like Jamaica.
I love
Alfresca.
Jamaica so much.
Jamaica fresca. So that was an interesting one. It ended up actually the one I did, and it reminded me actually a lot of applesauces I like. So it was a little different than I was expecting. It uses, ginger and cinnamon as flavorings with
Nice.
it.
I used it as it at bio break. I got nothing extra.
Look, using it as a bio break is really important, y'all. Like, I'm not going to tell you how many times I've forgotten that my body has needs while writing.
Or doing homework.
All the time. Or just life.
Yeah. Writing for several hours and then needing to get up and suddenly my legs are like, wait, you thought you were going to use me today after ignoring me for hours? It's like, oh, the joy.
I went into sleep mode. I didn't know that you were going to need me. I thought I was unneeded. I was going to take the day off. What is this? You're expecting me to work?
Yeah, I can live in my head for hours writing and then be like, wait, the body has needs? Oh, that's right.
How inconsiderate. Why can't we all be cyborgs like Jenna Morassi?
It would be nice.
Because she's holding out on who her, dealer / surgeon is.
Yes, exactly. So, marketing, promotion. All right, so what we were talking about before, like right at the... I'm sorry?
Reach? Like how do you reach to your
reaching readers. Okay. So we were talking about, or like in chat, like Regina and Tom in particular, and I think Megan also, were talking about paid advertising or paid something. Let's just say paid something, because you can pay for more than just traditional advertising. There's actually a bunch of stuff that if you have dollars, they will be happy to dance for.
Well, like Regina was mentioning, promoted posts as well.
Right.
To me, I count that as advertising. Like,
Yeah,
even though it's no longer necessary. Like, on a billboard or like in a print magazine. Like, I think if you're paying for anything, it counts as advertising. And if you're not paying for it,
it does count that way in taxes.
Marketing or publicity, which is what I was taught. Although there is a difference between publicity and marketing. I want to make that clear.
Yeah. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, at a certain point, it is eyeballs. Like, to find the people interested, you need to reach far enough out to reach enough eyeballs that other people can determine if they're interested in it.
Yes.
And, I mean, I have to admit, like, for the price, I mean, Facebook and Google ads are definitely some of the lowest cost for targeted eyeballs. Like, if you know, especially if you know your readership or the people interested in your stuff tend to be more into something specific. Whether it's age groups, or this is actually where read alikes also come in handy. If someone searches for a particular book,
right,
have your ads show up to them so they can also see that.
They're called like affinity terms or something like that.
Yeah.
I know that Goodreads costs an arm and a leg, as does BookBub, and the founder of BookBub actually talked to my class, and I restrained myself from being like, you know, some indie authors can't hope to ever pay for this. But like Goodreads and BookBub, they have a really good conversion rate for people actually getting your books, whereas I've heard less success with Facebook, although Mark Dawson has a book and he has a course or whatever. So it's not impossible, but I've heard Amazon ads are pretty good for like price and conversion to like getting people to get your books.
Because again, you want to get people who are interested in that.
So a quick tip for ads is to make sure you know who you don't want to target. Like if you're setting up an ad, you really want to know who you're trying to avoid targeting, because you're going to make sure that they don't see your ads. And that'll save you a lot of money if you have a really big list of people who are not seeing the ads versus like what you choose for what you want people to see. Because that's usually a good way to save some money. Just a quick tip there. From my marketing days. Oh, Robert, you're muted.
Yeah, you're still muted, sweetie. No.
Nope, you're still muted.
There you go.
Try now.
How about now?
Yes.
You're good.
Much better.
Okay. I was saying.
Give us your wisdom.
kind of an old school thing, but I guess it's not really old school because they have print magazines and you can get it online through a subscription. Poets and writers will have specials every once in a while, and you can get anything from a full page ad to a quarter page ad. And again, it's having the money to toss out there, but I've seen some of their sale prices and they're not completely unreasonable. You know, for a quarter page ad, getting it out there with people who are just buying trade magazines, totally a bad idea.
So I know that more than a few writers back in the day, and I mean before my day, y'all, just for the record, used to advertise, like if they, for instance, wrote murder mysteries, you know, like true crime type procedural novels, they would advertise in, what was it? True Crime Detective comic book. And other such comic books. There used to actually be a ton more than there have been in the last couple decades. And I only know this, like I swear to Raymond Chandler or his publisher, I'm not sure who, but would advertise his back catalog in some of these kind of comic books. And there were also used to be true romance, which always ended in tragedy, y'all. Every one of them I ever got, because with the comic book shop, people would sell whole long boxes to us for like $30 store credit, y'all, which would not get you hardly any comic books. At $3 a pop, yeah, you could get maybe 10 new comic books. But a long box was like, what, 100 comic books or more, 120, something like that? I actually do not remember the numbers. I'm a terrible store owner. But there would be all these random comic books. And so we would then organize them. And it's like, oh, we've got all these true crime and true romance and true detective and all this. and to see all of these really classic, wonderful writers advertising their own. Like, it was literally, the address was this author's name, and I swear some of these were house addresses. At least it looked like it. But they would advertise. So if you can already find where your readers are going, whether it's certain websites, social media platforms, even honestly, bulletin boards or like Reddit, subreddits where they are already congregating and you can advertise on that platform, that is a really wonderful way to reach your readers in that particular genre. If you are writing, for instance, genre or anything like. So if you're looking for something a little more specific.
Goodreads groups.
Goodreads groups, yes.
I hate the UI of Goodreads, but the groups are good.
Yes. So for instance, when I was running the crochet company, Glory's Wondercraft, with Facebook ads, I would specifically want to advertise to people who have clicked like on the concept of crochet, because you know it's Facebook. And then I knew approximately ages of people who seemed to congregate to my table at the farmer's market, and obviously in my region. And we would get several hundred people's eyeballs for less than $5. Which would, I think, what was it, Tom? It was like for every dollar we spent, we would make $30 to $50 in sold product at that farmer's market. For every dollar on Facebook targeted, to boost our post or to boost anyone else's post about that farmer's market event, we would make $30 to $50 in actual cash that show. If you already know like something, so if say your story has crochet in it, then you have something in to like market to readers. If it's anyone who's ever liked Isaac Asimov because your story is similar to an Asimov story, that is how you target effectively for your pennies. And that's why people talk about why read-alikes are so important, or what do they call them elsewhere? Contemporary reads?
Also bots?
Also, did you say also bots?
Yeah, on Amazon, that's what they're called. And then Goodreads, it's always readers also read.
Okay, also reads and also bots. I was thinking you were saying BOTS, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
No, BOUGHT.
I'm sorry, it's the English language. It's problematic.
That's what I was thinking too. I was very confused until
I was
spelled
like,
it out, and then
when
I'm like,
everyone was silent, I was like, oh, this is a problem.
I was like, I am having a mental. Like, why don't I understand?
Don't worry, you're not having a stroke.
Thank you. I need the assurance sometimes. So I'm just pointing out, like, we were so surprised how many people are unfamiliar with being able to truly target ads. That is why I like Facebook and even Instagram for targeted ads, is because it really does break down the kind of eyeballs you're looking for if you already know the product you're trying to sell. So the sticky wicket here is knowing your demographics.
I'm sorry, the what?
Sticky wicket? You have obviously not read that much British or Commonwealth, because Australia too. Okay. So are you familiar with cricket? The game? So there's a wicket, and sometimes it is a problem for the team if the wicket is sticky. It's not actually sticky, y'all. It's just a phrase, but that's the phrase, is the sticky wicket. The like where we would say maybe the rub or the like tricky bit.
Okay, I want to be clear. I know when I say I know about a sport, it's mostly I know of a sport, and the only sport that I know the rules for, I believe, is football, and that's just because of Thanksgiving.
The only reason I know anything about cricket is because of Douglas Adams in the Hitchhiker's Guide series. In the third book, Life, Universe, and Everything, there is lengthy descriptions of cricket games played by alien robots.
And at the time, we thought this was a made-up sport because it does sound so ridiculous.
I didn't think it was real. It's like, how is this a sport? Why do they stop in the middle of this game for tea time? And this sport goes on for hours and days. We thought this was a joke. This was absolutely absurd. It turns out it's a real game, and they really do go on for days. And they stop for meal breaks and sleeping. It goes on forever, y'all.
I was a little kid on the Batman TV show. Alfred the Butler used to say, "It's a bit of a sticky wicket, son."
Sticky wicket, yeah. I grew up watching that too. The reruns, but yeah, I loved that Batman show with Adam West. What a voice! But nevertheless, that's why we wanted to have a separate episode about demographics. It is so important to familiarize yourself with the kind of people that your story or book really appeals to. And the only way to do that is market research.
Still learning.
So at a certain point, you have to get in there and it already decides you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Mm-hmm. You have to get out there and fail and stop worrying about, but what if I fail? No, the plan is to fail. So that brings us to the story we were talking about behind the scenes, backstage, before we went live. So here it is. One of many stories from the video store. We would have, sometimes it was monthly, sometimes it was quarterly staff meetings. And the goal of staff meetings, among other things, mostly to swap stories. But there was also another goal, and that was to come up with 2 marketing ideas for sales for the next quarter. One of them had to be the idea that most people voted would be the best sales idea. And the other one would be the worst sales idea. And we would try both. And who had submitted the winning one, whichever one sold more or made a biggest profit, would be the one who would get a gift card. Customers could also be the ones to submit the sales ideas. We didn't care. And they would get a store gift card. But staff would get a gift card to any place they wanted. So most of them chose like Walmart because you could get gas too. And you could also get groceries. But sometimes, like for anniversary stuff, people would choose Chili's or whatever restaurant. So you just tell me where you want your gift card to, and I would go get it. Since, gifts are a totally tax deductible difference back then in the early 2000s. I'm just saying. That way staff wouldn't have to pay taxes on the kickback. So anyhow, we would run both the best idea and the worst idea and see which one, because we weren't sure what would work out.
A/B testing.
It's called A/B testing. One of the ones that worked way better than it really ever should have was our 5 for 5. 5 movies, $5, 5 days. So, and it was just the dollar movies. What?
It's catchy, which is probably why it caught on.
Yeah, it would just be a page printed 5 for 5 for 5. And then there would be like a little video and, the dollar bill and then days. Like literally, it was like the world. I was the one in charge of advertising and it was the world's worst graphics. I will own this. One day I'll find some of it for you because I occasionally find this stuff in my old laptop and it's like, oh, it's cringe, y'all. It's so bad. It's like the world's most beginner clip art known to man. Printed on regular paper.
Canva didn't exist back then.
Right. No, they did not exist back in the early 2000s. So that one was just dollar movies anyway. And the only difference between it was the dollar movies, normally you could rent one movie for $1 for 3 days. So it was like 2.5 days actually of rental. So all they were getting for renting 5 was to double the time out. There was no other difference. And yet, because it was so catchy, it caught on. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit I was inspired by the $5 footlong deal at Subway. I'm like, because it was the very first time.
Now I'm going to hear that jingle in my head.
The very first time, this was before they had the jingle. The very first time they advertised it was the $5 footlong, and they didn't have a jingle for it or anything. And I was like, what could we do for $5? And that was literally it. It was like, what could we do for $5? Because $5 is such a great price point. That one just keeps showing up. That ad that kept working. People were like, are you still doing that $5 deal? So we brought it back, and then we eventually made it permanent. About the time they made the $5 footlong thing permanent for several years. You just play around, and you don't worry about, oh, I'm going to like do this, roll out this marketing idea, and if it fails, I've lost all this money. I do not recommend anybody advertise for more than they can afford to throw away. If all you can afford to throw away every month is $5, then you need to look at your marketing and go, what can I spend for $5? How can I get the biggest bang for my buck for $5? So that's all I'm throwing out there is play. If we used to tell our clerks, and then when I had the home party business, we would tell our salespeople, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. If you are not playing around and having a good time experimenting and running all sorts of crazy ideas, are you really having a good time?
Yeah, that's something a lot of people miss when they're thinking about promotion, because people do crazy things. You don't want to be insane where you're going to lose your shirt, but yeah, experimenting and being creative with it is it's half the fun. You never know. It's going to stick to the wall when you're on social media or anything else.
I would also say I wouldn't run a promotion every single chance you see someone else running a promotion. Like, I run my book sales around certain times. I normally try to run them around the book anniversary of a book coming out, but sometimes I just do the book anniversary of the first book in a trilogy coming out, just to get more people into the series, and then they can, look at my backlist or whatever. And I also always do Thanksgiving, because that's when I used to do the most of my binge reading in a year. Like, I would read throughout the year, but Thanksgiving would be, oh, I got all my homework done that's due after Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, so I can enjoy like time with my family. But then every night I would be reading like the latest young adult thing to my cousins who were like a decade older than me. And I was like paying back them introducing me to The Giver and The Golden Compass. So like I was reading during that time. So even though maybe not everyone does it at Thanksgiving, to me, that's always a time that I want to put my books on sale. And sometimes I do it on my birthday, but like I've picked and chosen which of these dates I want to do. And then, all my books are romance so far. So, like it would kind of be stupid not to do Valentine's Day. But if you hate Valentine's Day, then maybe you don't want to put your books on sale then. Like, it is up to you. You shouldn't do it just because everyone else is doing it.
Right.
And you don't necessarily have to be running a promotion to run a promotion. What am I trying to say? Like, you don't have to have a sale to be running a promotion on your items. You can just advertise the item as is for the price that you're offering it at. And because sometimes what your goal is just to get awareness of the product, people need to see the product a couple of times before they actually are going to make the buy. So you've got to make them aware that the product actually exists and is out there. And hey, I might actually want that. That sounds like that might be up my alley. So you want to, get it in front of them as many times as you possibly can. Sometimes the goal isn't necessarily to make a sale. The sale comes later.
One of the things that we noticed with the store, with the video store, and then the home party business, and then even with food delivery, April around here, again in South Mississippi, is the worst month. People do not spend money. I have personal theories about it. I think it has to do, like, my theories include the middle class are the ones who tend to pay taxes. And so since they're paying that tax bill around April 15th, they don't have extra spending money right in that month, versus the working class have already gotten their tax return months ago, and the money is all now gone. Mm-hmm. So again, their discretionary money is at a low for a moment. And so, honestly, like, nothing I've ever done has really involved the wealthy, other than my socializing. Those stories will eventually come to light one day. But anyhow,
I want to hear it so bad.
Oh, the trash I have to tell y'all about Southern rich white people. Okay, so anyway, But just saying, like, April has always been the lowest discretionary spending money month in my experience for the last 20 plus years down here. And so that is a month I do not intend to spend advertising money, because what is the point? And it's just always been that way around here. Again, I don't know about elsewhere and I can't speak for that, but it's one of those of like, let me go tell y'all, look, if y'all are not experiencing much in the way of extra sales in April, maybe that's why. And save your money. It's not you. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that there's not a lot of spending money to go around for impulse purchases or little happies. That's what we call it around here. I'm so old that we used to call them happies. Little like, oh, I'm just going to buy myself a book, a little happy, a little, or I'm going to buy someone else a little gift book, a little happy for you, a little gift. That never happened in April because ain't nobody got money.
And something you don't want to do is when your book comes out, every post that you put on social media being your book cover or your book from a different angle. And I've seen that over and over again. And people will burn out on it. You need to kind of put something else up there. Do something about yourself, or again, about your passions. Or one odd thing that, the one comic book that I worked on was called The Ray. And we did promo art for it, which we thought was going to be the ad to sell the book because you want to give people a glimpse of what's inside. But the editors decided to go in a completely different direction. They hired a model and they put him in a Ray jacket. Took a black and white photo, except his hand was glowing. And it was different. It stood out. It actually did. But you know, it seems true for somebody that can create a costume, make a character. Well, you do something that's really different and interesting to get people not. If you're looking at a rack of books or on Amazon, a whole bunch of tiny little cups, how is yours going to stand out? Same thing for your posts. What's going to stand out from the pack of everybody else's, or that same cover that they see over and over and over, and it's like, oh, it's that person again, and you kind of scroll by because you've seen it 2 dozen times. I want
with advertising, the rule growing up, I say growing up, when I was in my 20s, was red to get their attention, blue for print. Because women and I think half of men, blue actually stands out quite a bit in advertising. So they think, oh, with blue, I need to read it. And so that's why you put the important words in blue. But you have something red to actually catch the initial eye of everyone who sees your ad.
That's why a lot of movie posters do orange and blue, because orange is the color of excitement in color theory. So it's not exactly red, but you know,
I said, mine's more dated. I'm not saying it's entirely accurate. I'm just saying how we used to.
I mean, I love blue and red as a color combo, but someone did a video where they like compared the like new trilogy of Star Wars posters, and then I think it was Avengers, like Infinity War and Endgame, and it was like all of these films, and even ones that weren't like action, and it was the amount of blue and orange. I was like, I'm never going to be able to unsee that.
Yeah. And you think about that color scheme, how often do you see people in movies that have that blue light on one side and back here is an orange or reddish color? I like color. But
that's according to color theory. According to the color theory, blue and orange are complementary colors, just as yellow and purple or red and green. So this is why sometimes people use that combination as well, because it's a contrast, it's a complementary color scheme.
And what a lot of small presses used to do for comic books, speaking of being on the rack amongst a rainbow of colors, is they didn't have budget for color comics. It would usually be in black and white, but their covers would be black and white with something red. And in the scheme of things, that would stand out if you had really nice eye-popping black and white art with a red logo or something going on. And or they would put blood splatters across the cover, whatever that was.
Because you paid per color in a 4-color swatch. You paid per color run because you'd have. Well, yes, I know about printing as well. You used to have to run the gloss covers through for each color separately. So a 4-color, you'd have to run that cover through 4 times.
Yeah.
And you'd have to make sure it was aligned for each time, or else it would then, you've ever seen those where the print color is a little bit off and it's like, what is that? Is that supposed to be 3D? No, it's just crap printing. Where they didn't have it lined up. And so if you only are playing, because like black is already automatic. You're going to get black, and then there's 4 color. Well, technically, I think K is the black color, right? Is it
YMK? Cyan, magenta, yellow. I guess K is black.
K is
carbon
black, yeah.
or something? Yeah. So you're always going to get black, and then you pay per other color.
Mm-hmm.
Just having 1 color extra is still cheaper than paying for all 3 extra colors.
Yep.
And it will, that red will pop.
You know, I'd see certain covers that would have like a silhouette of buildings or a sky that was all a certain blue ink. You would do that in black, but you would put registration marks and a vellum layer over it all, and you would put, that's 100% blue. And it's 2 different layers running through there. I did it once with snow in a comic book where I did all the snow in black, and then I put it on a layer with weight burn through, so that weight burn through would go through all plates and it would look like white snow that was not a drawing, but just drifting.
Nice.
Nice. That's cool.
But yeah, it can be time consuming, but yeah, all those colors, all those layers. Remember that.
But yeah, to do a black and white image with 1 color, it's still startling. It's still eye-catching.
Yeah.
There are ways to run advertising where it's beautiful. It's, not just amateurish like my stuff. And if you have that ability, I would definitely recommend utilizing it.
And if you have trouble picking colors, I highly recommend a book like this is the Color Harmony Compendium, and it's just a book full of colors and color combinations.
And if you go to an art store, as Dal said, for color theory, you can pick up what's called a color wheel. And everything on the color wheel, if you look at what's exactly on the opposite side of that color, that's a complementary color.
Mm-hmm.
So you can easily figure it out. And you can also turn the wheel to see how different colors will mesh with one another.
My elementary art teacher had multiple color wheels hanging up on the wall so kids could like play with them, but also like learn what they were. So yeah, definitely stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. Especially for self-published authors, it would be interesting if you're designing your own, or if you have an idea that's strong enough with those minimal kind of colors to show to your color or cover artist.
Absolutely.
So lots to think about. Covers aside from that, anybody else have thoughts on what punches for covers and what doesn't?
I mean, in the past we've talked about like don't put a unicorn on your cover if there's no unicorn in your book. But I would also say that when you're designing your book cover or you're giving the design brief to your cover artist, don't describe a scene because it's going to be in the book and people aren't going to get it. You want something that's striking and gets their attention. So if that's like a symbol that maybe is important in the book, fine. The Divergent books, they picked, the emblems of each of the factions. The Hunger Games books had a modified version of the Mockingjay pin on each one. Harry Potter, you just had the text, the stylized text of his name and whatever, Harry Potter and the fill in the blank for the year. But with the Harry Potter books, you always had the character on it. And in my first trilogy, I always have the couple on the cover. But in the second one, even though writing it, I did feel like, my male and female characters are pretty even as a main character. I only have a silhouette of my female character because the idea is that, she was abducted by aliens, but it could have been anyone type of thing. But it is her story. Her story kicks off the whole thing. What happens to her is what readers are reading more about than the alien politics, because it's a sci-fi romance with a little bit more sci-fi than planned, but it's not like a romantic sci-fi where it's, you know, more sci-fi than romance. So you want to convey the genre. You don't want your book to stand out so much that people can't figure out what genre it is because you are trying to be so different, but you also don't want to blend in so much that people's eyes glaze over where they're like, oh, I've seen this cover a million times before, and it's not interesting to me because like maybe I read so many of them, because that's how I started feeling a few years ago with the young adult section at Barnes & Noble, where I was just like, I feel like I've read all of you. I know I haven't, but it kind of feels that way.
They all kind of look the same.
And now covers are starting to be a little bit more unique, but clearly with cover trends. And I'm like, okay, I can live with that. But
I think
one of my fellow librarians who was really into YA, like heavily into it, she started amassing a whole folder, digital folder of pictures of covers that are identical or near identical. Because at first we were like, okay. And then she was like, no, look. And it's like, who stole the cover from the other?
I would love to see that. But also with indie covers, there are sometimes where there was a while where there was this girl, like dark haired, but sometimes they'd like make her blonde. But I'm like, you're not hiding anything, where she's lying and she's floating. And normally she's either like a dead girl or she's like, it's supposed to say that it's a mermaid book without being a mermaid book. And I was like, that doesn't change the fact that I look at that and I'm like, all I can see is the stock imagery.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, the first one she ever noticed, it was like this woman, I don't remember the hair color, but let's say it was neutral. And she's in a like sort of an ephemeral gown, you know, sort of ghost-like, but maybe that's not. And it was two different, dramatically different stories, two different published books. And I was like, they look seriously near identical. She had since later found actual identical YA covers, very different books, different publishers and everything. And I'm like, wow, I'm willing to bet it's the same cover designer, but because they didn't buy exclusive, they just resold it. Like, because these are like big name publishers who paid for the same cover.
Damn.
Wow.
I think it's why I like text covers more these days. And there are certain people on Instagram, and I'm blanking on the account that I love the best, but the designer of These Wicked Delights, like she'll just play around with stuff on her Instagram, even if it's not like an official cover, but she's done so many where I'm like, it always stands out and it's almost always 3D, but it always looks different enough from her other work that I'm like, I'm here for the book,
right?
Not just for the cover design.
Reduction quality is important too, because it's really small online these days. And I see some people that have a ton of detail, and you can tell they're telling their cover artist they want this, and a million things later it's going to be this big and it's just going to be a blur.
Mm-hmm.
The designer comes up with something that stands out on that cover. You can have small detail in the background if it doesn't matter, because background is background, but what's front and center on there? And then you have other covers that are really simplistic, like you'll see an image of floating lips next to a martini glass, that minimalist thing that went on so many paperbacks. That was really trendy for a while too.
Yes. I remember like pulp paperback,
yeah.
And it was very, oh, well, it's going to be some detective, and there's going to be a femme fatale, live or die, I don't know, but there will be a bar. We'd almost get disappointed if like there was a martini glass and no bar. Like, how dare you?
Now I'm just thinking James Bond.
Yeah,
and like there would sometimes be neon, like a neon sign or something in the background, or neon lips instead. Like there would be. It was a whole thing for
neon lips. 10 years turns me off. I'm like, no, don't.
That it was the 80s. I don't know what to tell you. Like I wasn't reading them, but my mother kept getting these audiobooks because if Elliot Gould read them, she would play it in the car. I am far too familiar with his resume.
I think about the dawn of self-publishing. How many writers gave you a cover that had a hot chick with a gun?
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, I have a book planned with that type of thing, but it's like the only one, and I'm like, and it actually recreates like the ad of like a show that I really love. So I'm like, is this like the best thing ever for women's empowerment? No. But at the same time, given she has to doll herself up as a spy like this a lot, I'm going to give it.
Okay. Total tangent, has nothing to do with this, but my favorite of that was I guess a meta take on that was when science fiction picked up that sort of femme fatale covers from those crime dramas and then made as science fiction versions of it. So like it would be an alien woman with a gun in a bar.
Yeah. I was always like, no.
And that was where I'm like, okay, you have my attention. There better be a bar. And it would be, you know, science fiction. It would be a totally different world. There would be space ships somehow. There would be a fight. Somebody would be pursuing someone in a ship. I don't know.
Give us a cantina like Star Wars.
It was very strong vibes. It was all these were for like what, about 5 to 8 years after the original New Hope came out.
Oh, okay. The first time that my mom wanted to show me Star Wars, I was a very late Star Wars bloomer. She loved them, but like she wasn't exposing me to them like all the time, like she was to the Beatles and like musicians and things like that. So we're looking, and I'm like, I can't find Star Wars. All I can find is Star Wars: A New Hope, and then like, you know, the rest of them, including the prequels or whatever. And then I show her the poster and the year it's released. She's like, oh my God, they rebranded. I hate that. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is all I can find.
Yeah, younger people, I have to say A New Hope, where they don't know Star Wars. Like I'm talking about the original, and then versus Return of the Jedi.
Because I know it when you say Star Wars because of my mom, but otherwise I was like, Google says it doesn't exist. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Google's like, we don't know what you're talking about. These are not the movies you're looking for.
Initially,
just gonna throw that in there.
These are not the movies you're looking for.
They're not the movies you're looking for, y'all. Did I tickle you, Robert?
When they first started calling it A New Hope, I thought they were coming out with a new movie.
Yeah, I thought it was a reboot or something.
And then
it has new in the title.
And it is not new, y'all. It's not. No. So, yeah, with advertising, it is important to think about what does it look like to your end user? When they see it, is it something they'll want to click on, or is it something that's easy to ignore? So, but I want to point out, you don't have to do it just with visuals, because in education, there are 3 kinds of learners. There are your visual learners, there's your auditory learners, those are who really learn from the spoken word or music or sound in general, and then there's your kinesthetic learners, those who learn through physical movement. Yeah. Every learner also has a secondary form of learning that is their preferred. So you may be, your primary preferred form is kinesthetic learning, but then you have a secondary form of learning, either visual or auditory, that is, you know, appeals to you next. Now, it is very difficult in online land to market directly to primary kinesthetic learners because how are we going to get them to move? This is odd. So essentially, but you can essentially double down with visual and auditory. So if your ad could have a little bit of copyright-free music, that would be lovely. Or if not music, sound. I mean, honestly, y'all, I love the sound of soda being poured. I love that little crispy and the crackle sound. I love it.
You love Super Bowl ads for Coca-Cola and Sprite and whatever else.
I love the sound of coffee being poured from the machine. You know how when it's first the drip starts? Those sounds are still valid, and if you make them yourself, they are copyright-free. Think about adding that to, if you are actually going to run an ad, say, for instance, for a new story or book, and you do a quick little voiceover of somebody's, you know, a little section of a story, and you're able to add some sound effects. Think about adding layers to your marketing or your promotion to appeal to a wider audience, because just because they read doesn't mean that visual learning is their primary. They may still very much, if anything, appeal more to auditory learning. So if you can add in those sensory as well as it just makes it a more three-dimensional experience for the end user, it's more appealing. They're more likely to click on it, or at least give you an extra 2 seconds to read your copy, your print copy.
Sensory is more important than most people give credit for. As many conversations I've had with Dal, it's something that's very neglected. And I remember Saul Stein, who was a writing mentor of mine, had they were going to make a movie of one of his books that never got turned into a movie, but they bought the script and they actually had a trailer, and they said what they did in that one was the absence of sound. Showed these snow plows coming down the street with no sound until they got like, wake up. Instead of getting people's attention, the absence is important if you're doing something like that when it comes on.
I know that from a writer perspective, I've heard more than a few times of, Lori, this is the small business side. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't enjoy this. I don't want to have to worry about marketing and promotion.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
I don't want to get into making ads. I don't want to have to write copy. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't like it. And this is my take on it. This is what I have to say. All versions of marketing and promotion is storytelling. If you're not enjoying it, maybe you're not really telling stories, and that's what you're not enjoying about it.
Yeah, if you market yourself in a way that you're telling a story, you will enjoy it a bit more, and it will translate to whoever encounters your stuff, whatever it is that you do. Because when I see the example on Instagram, people who just post about their book all the time, like pictures of the book cover from different angles or whatever, like we said, we burn out of seeing it, and also I can tell the person is not comfortable just doing that, but like they haven't figured out another way to do it. They are just doing it because they think that's marketing, and it's not. So as soon as I started learning more about marketing, I have found other ways to talk about my available stories in a way that I don't feel so uncomfortable. Because I struggle with the part that you were telling, that there's no space for modesty. I struggle with that because I'm like, dude, I'm a tiny writer. I'm not a superstar. And I'm like, eh. So yeah, I have to find a way in which I can talk about it passionately without coming across like a snake oil, you know.
And again, like, you can do that with storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
None of us, like, I've read your writing. You're not shy about telling a story.
No, exactly.
So,
I can tell a story. I can
tell a story in marketing and promotion. In promoting your work, tell another story, or tell a variation on the story. Mm-hmm. Tell a story. Give me a moment in the tweet to enjoy a little micro bit of an escape. You know, ditto for Instagram of, it is possible for everyone to try these. Get out of your comfort zone and tell a story. Not just you, Dom. I'm not talking about, I'm not trying to.
I got it. I absolutely got it. This is why, for example, I created Music Mondays. I don't like doing the self-promo Saturday thing. I hate that. It makes me uncomfortable. Okay, what can I do about it? Music Mondays. I post something that has to do with music, and I connect it back to my book or my short story, whatever I want. And it's like, this song helped me or inspired me, or I started writing this thanks to this song, blah, 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 blah. And I am not uncomfortable saying that. Mm-hmm. So I do that. And I also give myself spots in the calendar. Like, okay, it's going to be a Music Monday. So I'm going to talk about music that has to do with my book somehow, or with this scene, or with this character, whatever. But it is my way of feeling more comfortable talking about my own stuff in a way that it's not like shameless self-promo plug, whatever. No.
I do the shameless self-promo Sundays, like on Twitter, just because, if I get something from that, fine, but I don't really think I'm ever going to get something from there. But And around the lead up to the release of a new book, I'm pretty much like, you can pre-order this book, and then I use the appropriate genre hashtags. But on release day and when, you know, maybe I'm just posting about it online randomly to be like, oh, like, just a reminder, these are my books. You know, I kind of go with the hook from the main character's perspective, even if it's not the actual first line in the book description, where it's like, you know, we got kidnapped by aliens and is super pissed about it. You know, like, that's interesting. And like, that's the main story. Or, you know, sometimes I go from the opposite angle where, like, from my paranormal romance, I can easily flip it and be like the guy's perspective and what they go into it. Because in almost more cases, the guys go into the problem and then the girls come up against it. Whereas in the sci-fi one, it's she has the problem and the guy's the main reason for it. You know, but if you can get the human element, even if your characters are not human, if you can like evoke an emotion, I think people are then more interested, because it, like, you could be like, oh, that's just an emotion, that's not a story, but it is, because then you want to know the story around that emotion.
That's the secret to all of it, which was what I was going to say next. If you can't figure out how to tell a story with your book or your advertising, think, what emotion do you want to evoke in your audience, and then figure a way around that to create that emotion. Because writing entertainment, it's all about creating an emotion.
Well, I think we are about ready for our second bio break.
Yay!
And Zara has other appointments, other very important, very super busy things that she needs to do. We love that she joined us at all. We, of course, look forward to seeing her anytime she is available. She's about to go on a little vacation.
Yeah.
So we are very honored that she has come to spend any time with us.
Aww.
I'm frankly stalling for time while I try to find the little links thing.
That's okay.
I'm like, literally, like, why can I not see it? My dyslexia is so strong today, y'all. I can find it.
It's okay. I don't need the link to be up on screen if it's in the description.
Oh, it's
That's
always
fine.
in the description, my sweet. There, I did find it.
Woo!
All right, Zara, let's make you big and get you an outro, sweetheart.
Sure. My name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the self-published author of a young adult paranormal romance trilogy and a new adult sci-fi romance trilogy. This is coming July 6th, right in the middle of my vacation, because that was awesome planning. But I'm very excited for the end of this trilogy, and I have many more books planned in genres other than just romance. I have an AuthorTube channel where I host writing sprints and every so often post videos about writing. I have a few planned about mental health and musical theater. Those are 3 different things, by the way, not mental health and musical theater, although I'm sure I could find a way to combine them. And then on my Twitch channel, which is linked in the description, I host writing sprints. And I also have a Ko-fi page where you can buy signed paperback copies of all my books, or just tip me if you like me. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Zara.
Bye.
I'll see you all in another live stream at some point, I'm sure.
Okay, and with that, we are going to go for a 10-minute break and see y'all back here where we talk about how you can pull it all together and make a whole marketing and promotion plan. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Hello, my lovelies.
Hello.
How did everybody do?
It was very relaxing. I just sat there, stared at the pretty view.
Maggie made this one.
Yes.
It's on her channel if anybody's interested, and it's also in my timer playlist on my channel if anybody is like, well, I saw it on Glory Show. How do I find it? I have a timer playlist. You can add it to yours, and then as I add, you can see those. So just want everybody to know they have that available all the time. And it just started thundering out here.
Oh, wow.
So if you hear thunder, it's probably coming from either my mic or Tom's mic, because Tom lives down the hall.
And Tom found out this past week that the microphone that I thought was omnidirectional, oh no, it's cardioid, and it's not where I thought it was.
Yeah, the direction.
Yeah.
It only has one side, one part of the mic is actually picking up sound, and it was not any of the sides he thought it could have been. So that's been resolved, but before that said, if anybody ever needs like mic help, we would be happy to offer our experiences. Since we are audio nerds.
I was sorting out that coffee page. I will do something with it soon.
Cool. Excellent.
No idea though how to use it or what to post. Like the thing with me is I sometimes don't know what to do for the people. Like introverted problems. I don't know what to do, what people want.
So I think sometimes that's when it's a good idea to get outside help with that, get someone else to brainstorm with you, because sometimes outsiders can see what you can't see because you're so like in the forest that you can't see, or so in the trees you can't see the forest.
Yeah. So yeah, sorting out some stuff, thinking out, brainstorming, and learning. That's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Regina, we will see you later, darling.
Bye, Regina. Thank you for joining.
I've had other people private message me. There's a few people who have other appointments they have to go to, but who knows who we'll actually have for the after party, though.
Woo!
So if you are somebody who would like to join us for our after party that follows the end of broadcast, and you do not already know what the StreamYard link is, let me know and I will private message it to you. Because we have the paid account, at least for now, so we've got enough room for a party. So we might as well use it up, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So anybody, if since we do mention it, if you'd like a link and you don't already have a link to the StreamYard, let me know and I will message it to you. Yes, thank you for the PSA. So now here we are in the top of the third hour to talk about solutions, because what is the point of talking about problems and challenges if we don't
that's what I love about you.
Doll's like, I came here for this. This is
no, but I love it that we discuss some of the problems, but I love it that Glory is like, here, some solutions. We can do this.
I was like, what's a teacher? Always a teacher. That I'm like, yeah, but how do we solve this problem? Like class, let's figure it out. Put our brains together, welcome to my life. Also, I hate sitting with problems when people will tell me it's insurmountable. You just have to, what was it? Suffer and be silent.
That was thunder.
Yeah. I hate suffer and be silent is something that women in the 1800s were told constantly. It was a litany, suffer and be silent. And even when I was growing up in the 80s in Mississippi, which I'm told was like the 50s and everywhere else in America, I was told to just suffer and be silent. Little girls should be seen and not hurt. I can't tell you how many times I was told that. And I don't like that because don't take my voice away. So I'm very much about, well, let's find some solutions. There are always options we can try. And then since we'll be having another marketing and promotion episode 4 weeks from now, we can then talk about what we, have found.
What have we learned?
What have we learned from trying out ideas, right? We can do this again. There will be essentially a sequel, y'all.
One of the things I'm considering, sequel is going to be a thing, and I'll be here for the sequel.
Okay, well, I'll write you in now. So
one of the things I'm considering to do more on Instagram is getting even more involved with the hashtags of the books that I am comparing my book with. Because okay, I don't know where my people are at. I don't know where my audience is because I can't see, and I see a lot of romance on Instagram, and I'm like, no, that's not my audience. I don't know, why am I seeing all the romance? It's everywhere. I don't know what to do, and I feel terrible, and I hide, and I made a post about it. I made a post about I'm struggling with romance, and here is why. but in the most genuine light possible, because I don't want people who read and write in a genre to feel bad, because I'm not bashing on you. It's my personal struggle to comprehend the genre and not finding the people in my genre and struggling with the whole thing, but never bashing people in the genre, because that's not what I want to do. But so I talked about the struggle. I'm being super honest with everything I do, but again, the introverted me is like, I don't know where are the people. It's like being blind on social media is like, where's the people? Okay, well, what I can do now, and my only solution so far has been the hashtags of the books and authors that I want to be with, compared to or in the same shelf with, whatever. So hashtag Kazuo Ishiguro has been like the hashtag for me. And hashtag all the we cannot see. So there we are. Niche, yeah, but those are the hashtags I want to use for now. I don't know what else to do at the moment on Instagram, but as soon as I come up with something, I might come in with that solution for the sequel. Glory, what do you have for us?
Okay, which I think Megan also has something, but real quick, I just want to, while I'm thinking of it, in sales, since, let's be honest, now that you have your story written, whoever, not just Dom, but like everyone, once you have a story written and you're like, I want readers to find it. How do I do that? I want to point out for everyone's social media presence, as well as just, I would suggest a life philosophy. Here is what salespeople are told. People do not care what you know until they know that you care. So think about how you can present yourself as somebody who cares about readers finding stories, not just your stories.
Mm-hmm.
And think about how you could help readers. You could cultivate that community of readers by helping them find stories similar to yours, authors similar to you, and so on, so that they see you as an ally in their interest of finding stories they enjoy.
Cool.
And the stories don't all have to be similar. Everything doesn't have to be exactly like your story, but rather maybe your genre, or at least like certain elements, or even it doesn't even have to be writers who write in your genre. So for instance, I crochet. I know plenty of readers who are like, I just like the fact that this person crochets and I crochet. So if I point out another writer who also crochets, even though what they write is an entirely different set of genres than what I write, they are still like, I have a whole group of authors that I follow on Instagram, and they all occasionally post their crochet work, and I like it and I feel seen. I am not mocking anyone. I mean that. I've literally heard responses like that from people slide into my DMs. So it's just one of those of, think about not like I like you, but similar.
Mm-hmm.
People who share any kind of interest, and it includes people who are allies. I am a queer person. Yay! I like to know other writers who also are either queer or who are allies of LGBTQIA+ folks.
Yes.
I like to know that. It makes me happy to know there's other allies. You do not need to be queer for me to enjoy you, but it definitely helps if I know that you are an ally for me.
That you care. Yes.
Right. So again,
I do this as soon as I find other ace creators and just LGBT in general. I give them a shout out. It's like the LGBTQ community of writers here. Shout out everybody. Yeah, exactly. I love doing that.
Let's remember, all of us forever from now on. Remember, People do not care what you know, so they know that you care about them. And that is like my bit. Now, Megan, I'm going to toss it over to you because you've been so patient.
Okay, so I was thinking it's not related to Instagram, but you can take the comp titles that you found and you can use those to search for like bloggers and influencers who liked those books, and you can then, those are the people you're going to probably want to send your arcs to or see if they are interested in reading your arcs. Those are going to be, that's a good way to find people who are potentially interested in the book that you have that you're trying to get seen. So, yeah, I think that's the end of my thought there. Oh, Robert, you're muted.
Oh, no.
I think you're muted on StreamYard.
Yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I was saying hashtag sci-fi is the new fantasy. but also I think, Dal, you came up with a solution just in what you said in terms of showing your failures, because people don't only want to see your successes, they want to see that you're human and you can fail, and how that underdog overcomes those issues and problems that they face. It's all about
the ultimate underdog. That is true.
We all face obstacles in fiction and in life, but
true.
Obstacles in life also can promote your fiction.
I mean, probably one of the best, what do you call it, company Twitter accounts that I have seen of late, and it's because it's both funny and genuine. And you know, we've all been watching it because it's just a fun account. Is Tushy Bidet, and you know, it's actually, you know, it's just one guy who's doing most of the posting, but the company's response to his engagement with people and, you know, being honest and, yeah, posting silly, occasionally a little bit wrong jokes. But since everyone's enjoyed it, you know, the company's like, all right, everyone's saying you need a raise. All right, here's a raise. We're promoting you. You know, you still have to do the Twitter, though. Because people are just looking for authentic, genuine experiences. And so as long as the more you are yourself.
Yeah.
And but it's not the, oh, let me share everything. No one's actually interested in the overshare. You know, if anyone remembers from school, the kid who told everyone too much about their life outside school was also like, we're going to avoid him because we don't know what it's going to be today, but I got enough on my plate. But people who are honest about well, this worked and this did not work. And so like another part, and that also gets to me about playing with it. So like I said, like, you know, I like to play with ideas to test our markets and just see who's interested with Google ads and Facebook ads. And since both of them let you target very specific groups, you know, people who have liked all of these things, or people in this situation in this part of the world or the US or anything, I still keep, you know, the same idea we had from the video store of my AB is what I think is exactly our truly narrowed down to a point market who I think is always going to be interested in us. And another one is for the people I think has absolutely no interest whatsoever in us. All right, what's the interaction difference? Because I want to set out to fail occasionally, just to see, will it really fail, or is there something more I'm missing here? And because like one of the things I have found is Benjamin Franklin's right about if you want somebody to invest in you, literally have them invest, borrow some money from them. They are suddenly so much more concerned about your day-to-day life and how you do everything if you owe them a few bucks. And the equivalent nowadays online is like on Instagram stories, those asking for an interaction of, do you like this or this? And it's silly things, but people want to give their opinions on stuff. They want to be heard.
You could do those poll things in Instagram stories.
And then you get to react to those polls of, all right, here, really, guys, this is what you're thinking. They just want that interaction.
I do that often, and most of my polls end up being ties, and I'm like, again, another tie, seriously?
Yeah. So what am I just, what is this? I'm just the middle person between
you could do polls in Twitter as well. You can do ridiculous polls. Everything does not have to be writer related. You can do a poll, which is better, the Oreo cookie part or the cream part? Everyone decides. And suddenly there will be comments that you're like, all right, we're all going to be calm and civil, y'all. We all love the cookie eaters. It's okay. But people are going to feel more interactive because, at the time, our biggest episode to date at the time was not just music, but music share your playlist, where we asked everybody to start pouring in their playlist links from any format that people could access, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, whatever they've got, however we could see their playlists. And it blew up while we were on the show. People were so happy to interact and get an input, and they all had an opinion that we were happy to have them share with us.
And then they also got to see other people's. Like they were interested in, new stuff.
Yes.
Truly a new pleasure.
Yes. People were happy to explore all sorts of new music.
I listen to Sarah Hoffman's Stellar Blood playlist quite a lot.
Yeah. So getting that engagement is not necessarily a vacuous experience or an empty experience. Just because it's something people already have an opinion about, like music, doesn't mean that it's performative. It can be truly a lovely experience of asking people to share with you on social media, share me your playlist. I totally want some new music. What you got? People want to be of service to other people. If they're already following you, then they already like you. Take their word for it. They don't question them. If they're following you, it's because they like you. And so they want to interact with you, but they don't know how to. So there's a book, Leo Lowndes. What was it? 92. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Leo Lowndes. Something. Let's see. How to Talk to Anyone. 92 Little Secrets for Big Success in Relationships. Y'all, if you are neurodivergent, could I highly recommend this?
I need to reread that because I've listened to the audiobook and I was like, I was very skeptical. I didn't like it at the first time I listened, but the older I get, the less skeptical I am, and it's like I need to go back to that book. Thank you for that reminder because I need it.
Yeah, all of her books. There's only a few people we truly just recommend all of their stuff, and yeah, it's like Leo Lowndes. Pretty much any of her books. If it sounds interesting, read it.
And if
you will learn.
Some of her stuff is out of print, unfortunately.
And Seth Godin, again. If it sounds interesting, you'll probably still learn something from it, even if it's but this doesn't apply to me directly. It still tells you about how people work. Although, as a side, change subject real quick, going back, another genuine interaction, and also just showing, genuineness, and that people like to know, how human we all are. If you're stuck, if you're struggling, if you're not having a great day or stuff, there is nothing wrong with just posting on your social media, having a rough day. Please send your favorite cute everything.
Yes.
Reach
out, be vulnerable. You don't have to tell anything about why you're having a rough day. That's nobody's business. But you can be honest about it. And also, it is a way to get everybody to show you cute pictures of animals and, stuff. But anyway,
I would like drink recipes as well.
What I was going to say about Lil Lowndes was, so in the book, she talks about you need to have, if you want people to talk to you, if you are the shy or introverted kind of person, so you're not confident in starting conversations with strangers or even people, maybe you shouldn't feel that way, but you still have trouble initiating conversations. wear a doodad. That was, I think, what she called them, doodads. But like a brooch or something interesting. Maybe your shirt says something, or you have a hat that says something, so that other people can go, oh, interesting hat, interesting brooch, interesting shirt you got on with the like flamingos on it, whatever. Something that they can comment on, so that you give them an opportunity to start a conversation with you.
And
that is a kindness you can do for other people.
When you have those hashtag all that, like hashtag the Hasbro Darth Vader and Grievous back there, hashtag your microphone, your phone, anything that pops up in your video, put a hashtag, because all those hashtags to those brands and those different characters or whatever you have on your shirt, your background, it attracts people that like that. And they may not be aware of your video, but it's a way to reach out to different companies and people who like them, different brands, different whatever.
Yeah. So think about how in your social media presence, and even in your blogs, how you can give other people something to comment on to you. So it can include like, hey, send me your playlist, or hey, anybody got anything cute, send it to me. Anybody got a drink recipe? I'm thirsty. Give people an excuse to reach out to you, so that you can have that lovely engagement and essentially start establishing relationships where people understand you care about them beyond their consumerism.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, my fans are great. They have followed me literally for decades now. They have defended me all over the internet. When anytime somebody asks, there's no way that Glory Fink could be her real name. That's a pseudonym and she's a coward. I can't tell you how many people have actually said that about me on the internet. It's crazy.
What?
But people think Glory A. Fink is not a real name. My mother gave it to me. I did not have a choice in this, but it's mine now. Nobody can take it away. And people, like, anytime I write something that is controversial, I've had other people then come back with, that's not her real name. She's a coward. It's a pseudonym. And then my fans come out and go, how dare you? Did you? And they will cite, when I used to have a blog, they'll cite, do you see the blog? This is the blog link to the article where she talks about how her mom is so proud to give her this name and that's her real name and da-da-da-da-da. They're always happy to take care of me when I am like, I'm so tired of this. I don't want to talk about the fact that that is my real name. And my entire childhood riding the school bus every single morning was 30 rabid children screaming at the top of their lungs the naughty version of Glory, Glory, Hallelujah song. Every day for like 7 years. I had to listen to this screaming it, as well as any other, like there was the Batman version. Anyway, they would sing all the versions of this song, and I had to just sit and put up with it. And to then have to, as an adult, still deal with people going, oh, she thinks so highly of herself, she's named herself Glory. No, y'all, I did not name myself Glory. This is me. So when fans know you care about them, like I literally know where my fans live. Like I know their house addresses, y'all. They like have asked me to show up at their house. And quite frankly, I have shown up to more than a few. Because you get to know people and they're actually really lovely, sweet people.
Yeah.
But to like see that they take care of you, even when, you didn't realize that you really wanted someone to take care of you a little. It's worth it. So may I just highly recommend you give people ways to interact with you and strike up those conversations. You never know what gems you're going to find. And I mean that in the way of people. People are gems.
Yeah.
I
need to learn to be more open and like I said, don't allow my brain to dictate that everyone is after me. Like everyone is out there to bully you, like just like school. Just like college, because like the bullying in university was more subtle, but it was there.
Still there, yep. I certainly experienced bullying in college, yes.
Yeah, it was there. I don't speak Norwegian, but it was there. And yeah.
But yeah, like when
so like it is really it's really, this is something I was thinking about this morning now that I'm coming back to that thought. It's really hard to shake off a belief that people ingrained in you since forever. It's like wherever there's a group of people, be it real or online or whatever, there's gonna be someone bullying you. or going after you. And since that started to happen on AuthorTube as well, I was like, okay, I'm going back to my corner. Bye. I see you never. And now I am shaking off that belief again, because I'm like, not everyone is like that. That was just that person. Don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to your stories. You are here because you want to share your stories with other people. And it's like, and it's really hard. It's like, it's easier said than done.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But I'm on a step forward because I'm aware of where the problem is. So it's like, okay, I need to learn to have more fun and like just reach out a little bit more.
So one of the good, I almost want to say the word trick, but it doesn't. It's not the way. When I say trick, I mean like, Dumbo and the feather.
Right.
Because in the end, you're trying to talk to the back of your brain, and the back of your brain only understands emotions and songs. That's why often you'll get little ditties stuck in your head. It's actually an emotion part of you is concerned about, and it doesn't know how to express it yet. But one of the parts about really growing up and getting over like those kind of the self-doubt and all the stuff, we all pick up in school now. Because school is broken in its design in most places.
I could do an entire lecture on the truth of this, by the way. I really can cite my sources.
It's a multi-hour lecture.
We can like go through the like legal system of how it is designed to do exactly what. Yeah.
But here's the short and simple something that you can keep in mind to help do this and grow yourself, which is one of the issues you're probably facing, and we all face when we're young, is trusting ourselves, because we haven't yet developed good boundaries. And so one of the ways to sort of shortcut this is keep track of the friends that when you say, hey, I'm not feeling it today, I'm going to head home early, or I got to cut out early, note which ones are always like, okay, we'll see you again later, who are in no way trying to second guess you, who understand there's a ton of different reasons you might be doing this now, but let each person be themselves. And then you can all use those people as a reference chart for, hey, would you read this comment someone posted and tell me, is that a positive or a negative? Because I'm reading as a negative, but I could see maybe it could be positive. Like, can you check this for me? As a way to because your subconscious will start trusting them more because they are okay with your boundaries. And then once you have a larger group of people that you can trust that they respect your boundaries, you can kind of, communicate with the back of your mind more. And, and that is part of finding the people who are interested in you for you and interested in your stories just because they're interesting stories, versus the ones that you're like, this person feels predatory, and you tell others of, hey, am I being crazy or what? And taking note of that. Because Gloria and I definitely dealt with this a lot of, we grew up around a lot of narcissists. We had no idea how much narcissists there are in South Mississippi. It was far more than psychologists and psychiatrists ever suggested.
Yeah.
And usually high, double digits high, y'all.
But once we started finding a few people who were just regular, genuine people, we were able to start going, does this seem like a red flag to you? And a lot of times you're like, oh no, that person is crazy. Yeah, just get away. There's no.
We don't have to use the C word like that.
Yeah. But I mean, this is definitely a red flag. You don't need to continue engaging. Mm-hmm. And then also you'll find yourself calming down as well, because you're like, okay, so what I'm sensing is right. And and that's what we're all trying to grow up and do.
Yeah. I mean, it has been a real surprise to me as a writer that some of my most diehard fans are the most country people. I don't know how else to say this, but literally living in a single wide in front of a soybean field where the nearest gas station is literally 20 miles away.
Wow.
like country, okay?
On a miniature farm, pretty
On a-
much,
on
because
a
they got a
mini
whole lot
farm.
of farm animals.
Right. Like, I mean, yeah, and when the wind blows the wrong direction, you know it. And that's not a metaphor. I mean, literally, I was in the kitchen. And I was like, "Ooh, where's the trash? Does it need to be taken out?" No. That was not the diaper pail. That was, the animals outside. So, but those were some of my, like, look, I've never really lived in the country like that. I've always been sort of suburban a little bit. Like, I say that, and that's a joke, because there's like literally 1 square mile in all of Mississippi that is technically urban. Literally 1 square mile in the entire state. However, it was a genuine surprise to me to find out that my diehard fans, the people who are so loyal and so kind and compassionate about me being very different from them, were these very rural folks. And yet I was absolutely honored when, I find out, like, we are so different. They're not queer. They're not neurodivergent. They're none of these things. They're not necessarily female of any kind. And yet they will defend me till the day they die. And they love every single thing I write. And they tell me that, and they're so kind. And they'd give me the shirt off their back if I asked. So I'm like, wait, this is my appeal? I did not see this coming. It has to do with quality of people and readers and, people being hungry for whatever I was writing. Of course, if you know my writing, I do tend to write rather whimsical, kind of compassionate stories. Even when I'm writing zombies, they're still compassionate zombies, y'all. So, and I guess that's actually what appealed to people. Yeah. But it's like, but I would have never have known that if I didn't open up that fear, that cracked that little fear a little bit of like, well, let me get to know this person and see if they're actually like a dangerous stalker or if they're like a real person who's kind. And so, yeah, I would always drag a chaperone with me just in case, and so on. But I'm so glad I was willing to get out of my comfort zone and my fear zone and find out that I had some really lovely people who love my writing. I would have never have known if I did not crack open that door a little and let them in, at least in the short term. A third location to me. Now, granted, I'm not saying that we can necessarily do that in real life now with the internet and everything, but there are ways to have like Zoom meetings and even talk to some fans, because what is it that you like? Let me know. I'll see if that can influence what I write, or at least I'll be sure to at you when I have something I think you'll love, that sort of thing. People appreciate that sort of concierge service. Or also like letting them know when, if my friend wrote this and it's free, available right now if you want to go download it, and just DMing someone, a fan, that can be a very positive thing. It really does make those kind of, what Seth Godin talks about, like those kind of die-hard fans who are loyal to the end to you because they know you care about them individually rather than just what can they give me.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Very small spheres in terms of our family or friends or whatever who are trustworthy or good people. But I think that's because we're mostly isolated. And I do still believe there's a lot more good people out there than bad. But the bad people are the ones that are obnoxious and make themselves heard or are making the news all the time.
Yes.
But still a small percentage. Because they'll run stories over and over and over again until they're dead. They don't have new bad terrors every single day. They have their primary terrors on the news. But the point is, even if you only have 1 or 2 good people in your sphere right now, spend more time with them. Don't listen to the people who aren't, and then think about expanding beyond that, because I guarantee those people are going to be there. They're just not making themselves, because they're also in their little secluded world and they don't step out of it as much as you would think they would.
And actually kind of bring this back though to marketing and getting your story and stuff out there. Like, to just give you a case in point example, my car broke down yesterday and stepdad was out of town, so called up our neighbors that we're friends with, if they could come, sit with me while trying to get a tow truck, which took like 3+ hours. Apparently everyone was having some car wrecks last night. And we were chatting, and I think we brought this forward, like, our neighbors love cats. In a, someday they will have their own cat farm kind of way.
I lost count how many, like, I think 7 or more right now. Like, they have a lot of cats.
Yeah. And we were chatting, and I was just thinking about it as I realizing, like, but they like everything about cats. Like, just cats are something, brings them happiness. And so I was like, I know of a story that you might enjoy. Maggie's ghost with cat, or cats. Because it's like, how do you like the idea of anthropomorphic cats that are aliens? And they're like, okay, yeah, you've got me. I don't really need to, they're like, I don't need to know anything else.
Yeah,
I'll read this.
Right. They love cats that much. They're like, I will read about alien cats that are human-ish. Another civilization. Yeah, here I am here.
But I do know that they
yes,
are...
we spotted the kitty, Robert.
Yeah.
It was back there.
But I also know that our neighbors are in a lot of online social groups with other just diehard cat lovers. Like, I don't know how to put it any other way other than just they stan cats.
Yes.
And so if the story does appeal to them, they will then be telling their friends stuff about the story because it's got the right kind of appeal to them as well. And that's also the kind of spread and messaging we're trying to get with our stories out there. We're trying to find those real diehard audience so they can reach the other people that we wouldn't think of that might be interested in our type of story. Because, as we talked about last week or the week before, when you write the story, it's really hard to look at what are the elements that everyone else will take away from it and consider like the bold words, key words that make up our story. But the people who read and enjoy it, they will very quickly understand, like, these are the 5 or 6 key words that just summarize our story to anyone. If you like these keywords, you'll like this story. And so it's also the kind of people we're trying to find and reach.
And of course, you could always do something really crazy, like put on a bat suit and go out and fight crime at night.
I mean, I think that's entirely optional, though. I just want to throw that in there if you want to do vigilante justice.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. When the weather's right? I don't know. But but yeah, I said to Tom, like, you like cat. Tom likes cats. Tom has owned cats in the past. I was like, well, I guess he's actually been owned by cats. That's a whole nother matter. And I was like, Tom, why don't you do a whole series of book reviews about books with cats in them that, like, the cat plays an important role? Like Diane Duane, what is it, Night with Moon? Or
Book with Moon.
Book with Moon. And of course...
whatever.
Yeah. Diane Duane's book, and of course Maggie's book. And there's plenty of other books that feature cats in it that Tom has gotten me to read because he loves cats. And if it's an interesting enough story, I will read it anyway. I don't hate cats. It's just they're okay.
Or like there was this one story I found in an anthology from the 90s. The anthology was about holidays. Every little short story was a holiday that involved a pet. But this one in particular is like, okay, I need to go look up this author more now. Was a very fascinating, told from the perspective of a cat.
Nice.
A hard-boiled detective cat. I wish I was joking. I'm not.
No, it sounds greght. I mean,
in a Cthulhu universe, specifically Innsmouth story.
Boxes for you yet?
Like it's such a the rest of the stories were in this anthology were, okay, but this one in particular, I'm like, okay, this author has put together in a fascinating way, and I enjoy it still. But it's the cat. The cat itself is not supernatural. It's very much just a regular house cat, and kind of how you imagine any house cat feels about humans, who are all idiots.
Of course, right?
They're
That
just
is-
food providers. That's what
Yes.
they are.
Well, no. Cats think people are idiots because that's why when you get home after a long day or a weekend and they're like, meow, 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 that cat is actually saying, I thought you got lost. Did you lose your way? You should have been better about getting back here in time. You got lost. Cats will scold you, and everybody's like, oh, my cat loves you. Like, no, your cat thinks you're an idiot who can't figure out how to get home. And it's trying to communicate with you that you need to be better about getting home quickly. Like, all cats think all humans are terrible about finding their way home in a timely manner. Y'all. Like, you can tell when I tell you this. Now look at your cat the next time it scolds you and you're like, oh, that cat actually is judging me right now. It is. I'm telling you.
Well, they kind of think they own us. And
Well, they do. They're not wrong. They trained us.
we are just poorer versions of cats. And
Exactly. And that's why the cats stay, is to help us. And to cats, we are special needs cats. Look at us. We're all naked. We don't have enough fur. We're obviously sickly. It's rough, y'all. I mean, at least they love us enough to stick by us despite our sickly appearance.
But I think, Tom, to promote ourselves, here's a hidden way. We just need to come up with an author anthology, and we all write a cat story.
Let's say, speaking
this.
of Wikipedia and everything else, here is the Wikipedia article for the fictitious character of this cat.
Midnight Louie. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Hey, Heather.
Hello.
So, and that's why I was just suggesting to Tom, why don't you do a whole series of book reviews on Tom's Hot Takes about books that, center around cats or a cat. I know many people who love cats and love those kind of stories, and other people who just like stories with interesting cats, because why not, right? I mean, Tom got me to read that Diane Duane book because he said, you'll never look at cats the same. That Diane says cats have a game they play. And in the book, all the cats in this world play this game. And he's like, you'll never be the same after you read the story. So I read the book and I was like, now I cannot look at another cat for what has it been? 15 years?
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're all playing the game. Diane's right. But it is this game that all the cats in this book play. And now I can't not see this, that all cats play this game. And I love it. Even though, as said, I like cats, but I'm not a, cats forever kind of person. I'm just, I like cats. And yet I do love a good story with a cat in it. I love cats in general. I mean, show me all your pets, y'all. Please feel free to slide into my DMs with all the pictures of your cats. I appreciate all of them. I will also take any other animals, turtles, birds, dogs, goats. Show me all the baby goats in particular, but all goats, period. I like them. And if you want to put them in there, isn't Maggie working on a weird cow story?
Yes.
A werewolf cow, a weird cow,
Wow.
I'm here for this. I love any kind of shape-shifting stuff, too.
I'm here for all the hippo content.
Right? Okay. La Cthulhu?
Cthulhu.
How am I going to
Cthulhu.
Publishing Cat Crimes for the Holidays. All right. I love the name. Reprinted as something fishy.
I would say, in case you're wondering, no, this is real.
Cat Crimes for the Holidays. What a great title. Even I picked that up. And again, I'm not totally into cats like some cat lovers, but I will pick up a book that says Cat Crimes for the Holidays. Read that during my travels. I love travel books, that you read while you're traveling. That they're just fun. They're not meant to be meaningful. They're just fun books. Yes. So think about the story you're trying to find readers for. And if you're not sure how to market it, the kind of readers you're looking for, ask someone you trust to read through it for you and tell you what rings true for them. Mm-hmm. Where they say, oh, I can see where it appeals to anybody who has these interests. And don't rely on just one person. I would honestly recommend a bunch of people, at least 5 to 10 different people to give you their ideas. Preferably people who are more readers than writers. Because you want that reader side of people who are just in it for a good time. Versus writers are, that analysis brain's always on. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
I
versus
have that
readers,
problem.
they are just here for a good time, and then they are moving on to the next story. So that's where pure readers or people who are primarily readers really come in handy. And yeah, find 5 to 10 people. If you need help, we do know some serious heavy readers. So we know some people like in our personal lives who are major readers. These are people who, if they have free time when they're not working or raising families, they are reading. This is their primary hobby.
Yes.
And so, like, if you need help, let us know. Everybody, just let us know. We'll try to help you find voracious readers to essentially tell you what rings for them so that you have a better idea of who to appeal to when you're trying to find readers for your story. Also, they sometimes will have ideas of like, oh, you know, this bulletin board's really great for these kind of stories, And we will help you because, like, again, that reader community is important for every writer. And I know that, like, people like some of these paid services to help you find readers. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the money, please go help the world and the economy and move forward. Yeah, that's great. I don't have money. So I'm like, how to do it on a shoestring budget of none. How to spend advertising money on just pure social currency, no financial currency.
No
that is how I
financial
operate.
currency. That's me. I'm with you.
It's called bartering.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Barter and trade.
Yes. And believe me, a bunch of readers will be happy to take your story just to have a free story and then like give word of mouth. Like voracious readers, like that, you got to feed that habit, y'all. So they're happy to get a free story from time to time. And I have been known to use hashtags. Free story, free romance, like if you're doing genre, so free science fiction, or just romance story. Romance reader, science fiction reader, or sci-fi reader, fantasy reader, and so on. You can try these hashtags. If you've got like a little teaser story that you're happy to give out for free, or that even if you're running a sale. So I think there is like, like romance sale, science fiction or sci-fi sale. If your story is going on discount for a little bit, or you know it's about to happen, you can use these hashtags. Again, they are free to use. And you can help find some readers because, again, when you're building that reading community, you need a way for them to find you. So you want people who are actively looking for stories.
It's a really good idea. How many hashtags writers come up with writer community this, writer community that. Where's the reading community?
Right. So like think there are reading communities like our previous neighbors, same apartment, previous neighbors. One of them was a voracious reader, and she was the first one to ever tell me, like, oh yeah, anytime I don't have anything to read, I just go to this hashtag and that hashtag. And one of them was romance readers, and the other one was romance sales or something like that. And it was a hashtag. And she's like, yeah, and there's like tons of stuff. There's also apparently like some more adult natured stuff that I didn't even know existed on the internet. There's nobody should be without stories. Well, apparently readers take care of that problem. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So, but there's for other genres as well, like contemporary lit. They have that because there are readers looking for all these, and they essentially have a network of hashtags and communications to tell each other when stuff is free or on sale so that they can all, communicate this because readers are always looking for that next story. I'm trying to not make it sound like addiction, but y'all, that is how honestly they say
Totally
it.
is.
I'm trying to be genteel and I'm not doing a great job. So
I've made a note of this and to put in my marketing notebook. It's really good.
Yeah, like she was the one in the, like, when did she tell me? Like, gosh, it was like 6-7 years ago now when she first told me about that. And I'm like, how did I never know this existed on Twitter and Instagram? She's like, I don't know.
It's so important to have a marketing notebook, like to have, a place where you write everything down, what you're going to do, your plan for the strategy that you're going to take, and, how long you're going to be doing this experiment for, or, that kind of stuff. important to have that all written down in one place so that you aren't relying on your brain to remember it all.
Yeah, we forget as many ideas as we retain.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I said before, the Stephen King idea that only the good ones hang around. Not necessarily.
Yeah, it's like that in my experience is a complete lie. That's just what people tell themselves to keep their sanity.
Right.
I mean, Glory lately just keeps finding her old notebooks. And it's like, no, most of these ideas are good. And she's like, I thought I completely lost and forgot about that one. No, here it is. All right. We got a starting place.
Back when I was in art school, I mean, every professional said keep everything you ever do because you don't know when that idea could come up and be useful to you.
Yep.
Steve, no, let them all go.
I'll tell this story real quick. I think I've told Megan before, and Tom knows it. So when I was a teenager, I was an up-and-coming writer. I had won in middle school. I had won honorable mention in the Yoknapatawpha Arts Council writing contest. It was their first one, I think, that they did. My teacher had submitted an essay I didn't even know about. Consent, anyway. But I won honorable mention, which meant I won $10 cash. And that's how I learned that you can make money off writing. And I was the bug was bitten at that point. Well, anyway, I would write from time to time. Stuff would be published in the town. This was Oxford, Mississippi, in the newspaper there and other places. And so people were starting to kind of know about me also with this name. How can you forget me? My mother was so proud. Anyway, fast forward to, I was probably about 15, 16. Mom and I are walking on the sidewalk. I don't remember where we were going, probably Kroger's. And we ran into this man, Mr. Faulkner. Which Mr. Faulkner, you ask? I don't know. Frankly, they all look alike. There's a whole family of Faulkners, and then there's a separate family of Faulkners that swear they don't know the other Faulkners because family rivalries. Hi, Charlie. So one of the Mr. Faulkners stopped me and was like, hey, you write that and your mother, she writes the Mississippi, and Mom was writing too, and I was editing her things. And we're like, yeah, and he was very complimentary. And then he looked me straight in the eye and he's like, you need to know now to never throw out any of your notebooks or anything you write. And I'm like, okay, sir. Okay, gentlemen, I do not know. Sure. And he's like, no, I mean this. Promise me you'll never throw out any of your notebooks. And I'm like, I look at my mother. I look at him. I look at my mother again. She's like, eh. I was like, okay, I promise. He says, all right. Now promise me again, you will never throw out any notebook you ever write any stories or ideas in. I was like, I said I promise. He's like, promise. I was like, okay, I promise. He's like, now one more time, and the spell will be cast, and you can't ever break it. And I'm like, excuse me, what? He's like, promise me again, you will never throw out any notebook that has anything you've written, particularly with stories or fiction in it. Okay, I promise. He's like, now, you cannot ever break this. This will haunt you for the rest of your life. You'll try to throw out a notebook. You'll put it in the trash. It will find its way back in your closet. Mark my words. I've done you a favor. Never forget this. And he literally walked away. And Mom and I'm like, what happened? She's like, I don't know. Oxford's odd. And we continue to walk to Kroger's. Y'all, I have 26 years of notebooks I cannot trash. I'm not kidding. I've actually tried to throw some of these notebooks out. My childhood notebooks, essentially, from high school. I've tried to throw out some of these notebooks because I do not want to move with them again. I do not move well. And they find their way back into my life. Look, the man did me a favor. I will admit it. There's a reason why I'm coming out with my book of poetry, because I could not throw out this notebook either. Y'all, if you can do this for anybody, go help them spin the spell. I didn't know what I was doing, but this old man helped me out, and now it's stuck. Witches be among us. But it worked because I have found that I thought I was a bad writer as a teenager. I found some of these stories, these notebooks. I actually recently found in old boxes that I did not know even had notebooks in it. The stuff still is good. It's good enough that I know how to work with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because often it's just you're too inexperienced to know how to create something from the seed of the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just need more experience. And once you've had the experience, it's like, oh, okay, I know how to take this. I know where to go.
Yep. There is no such thing as a bad idea. It's just executing it, or the
Right.
fact that you like it enough to want to spend the time working with it. If you don't and it doesn't like gel with you, but that's not to say it won't at some point in the future when you have another idea that links up to that, and you're like, oh wow, that could fit.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So-
when you have that sense of like, no, there's something interesting here. I'm not sure what it is. It's like, we'll just set it aside, come back later.
I mean, I've had to essentially go away from certain ideas for 10, 15, 20 years and then come back to it and go, oh, I now know how to fix it, and I see why before I couldn't get this to work. I didn't have the technical skills necessary for this idea. Or sometimes conversely, it was simply the internet wasn't ready. Like literally platforms didn't exist for me to be able to publish things. And now they do exist. And that was really the whole issue. But you won't know until you let time do its work.
Yes. The first story I ever tried to write, and it was a horror story because I grew up on as much horror as I did comic books. And I still have the notebook. And the idea I thought was a bad one because everybody in the story after they went through this nightmare was really dead. And then as I got into like, what was it, the 90s, that came out with movie after movie where the characters are really dead. And like I came up with this when I was like in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, John Dies at the End is a good story and a good movie.
It is. However, it took 3 years of workshopping the movie to get what we now know as the movie. Like he literally kept showing it to, audiences all over the world at various conventions and anywhere pretty much they let him show. And then he would ask the audience for feedback and then would edit according to what he could do. And what we now have, what works, it really works. I have seen, there's one copy, not from the original version, but like, I think after 6 months of touring with it, and it is still so rough, y'all. Like I see where the seed, its potential, but it wasn't ready yet. He had to do edits, and he even did a couple reshoots till what we have now, and that story works. So, look, it's not just writers. It's filmmakers. It's any kind of creative person. Let us not judge ourselves too harshly.
Musicians as well. I mean, they work on a piece, they work on a song, and it's like I have the riff, but I don't have the chord progression, or the other way around. I have the chord progression, but I don't have the riff,
Right.
or I don't have the lyrics, or I love the lyrics, but this melody doesn't fit with what I want, or I cannot make the melody fit with the lyrics I want to put for the life of me. Yeah, I know from the musician standpoint, I know exactly what you mean. And I know the struggle. And so that's the part where I am not so hard on myself as a writer. Because like, do you remember when you wrote your own songs? Yeah, well, right. That was a song. That was 3 minutes of music, or 3 minutes, 4 minutes ish of music. This is a novel, and you're blind, girl. Like, patience.
No, I mean, like I recently, while trying to find something else on my laptop, I found the very first fiction story, like pure fiction, I ever wrote. I made up the characters, and it was a thriller suspense scene. It was just a scene. And I recently found it, and this was something I wrote at 15 years old. And I never wrote anything else about it because I didn't know where to take it or where to start it. I really wasn't sure. And I always thought of myself as a nonfiction writer. So I was like, oh, I don't know how to write fiction. I don't know where this came from. However, again, because that man bound us into this promise, I couldn't throw it away. And so I found it recently on my computer because I had originally had a printout from an MS-DOS computer and then had typed it up at some point. So I found it on my computer, and I was rereading it, and I insisted to Tom that he let me read it out loud to him. And he's like, okay. And I read the whole thing, and I'm like, I can tell it hasn't even really been edited for grammar. Like, this thing is almost identical to what I actually wrote when I was 15. I could tell the rawness. And he's like, okay, so what? And I'm like, it's really not that bad. I still would be like, yeah, where's this going? But now, having read it, I had all these ideas of where to take it and where to start it. I did not have that ability, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now I do have so much more experience and technical skills. I'm not going to say I have tons of technical skills, but I have enough to take it somewhere else where I want to read about it. It's the Amanda Kissinger story that it's one of those of like help people understand. Like I feel so much more compassion about younger me as a writer than I did before I read that story.
Younger me wrote a poem. Tom, you saw that because you read the thing. The poem near the one at the end. I'm just gonna say the one with the one with the lighthouse.
Yeah.
That thing is real, okay? That thing I wrote it for real when I was 15. And I'm using it in my novel, and no shame. It's like I tweaked it, of course. Grammar. But I tweaked just the grammar. The poem is the way it is since I wrote it in that little diary, and then I wrote it in a blog just to keep it somewhere online, and then I just rushed to find it. Like, where the heck did I save that poem online so I can just put it back in my novel? Because it fits. I'm gonna put it there, and it really is a younger me work that's now part of my adult self fiction, if that makes any sense. And I mean, it's not the best poem ever written. No, it's not. But it's fun to me that something I wrote back in the day that I just never thought it was going to be anything important. I just wrote it because who cares? I just needed to let out a few things. And then years later, who knew that I was going to be trying to publish a novel and that poem was going to be there? Like, you never know where your pieces of fiction or poetry or whatever, you never know where they are going to end up or how you're going to use them later. So yeah, I agree that you should keep everything.
But so can I just say, like, to bring it back to what we're talking about, promotion and marketing, when you find these old little gems or these little stories that don't really go anywhere, what great content you can share about, like, for instance, Throwback Thursdays, that you can share this, show that vulnerable side of like, hey, look what I found, something I wrote when I was still a baby writer. And
I wasn't even a baby writer. I wasn't even a baby writer. I was just someone who wrote a poem. And that's like, look at it. I didn't even know back in the day. That's so true. That's a great... Why haven't I done that? Huh.
Because
it's still vulnerability. Like, it's still not
vulnerability. Easy. But like people want, so these little throwaway stories, like, so the thing I wrote with Amanda Kissinger, that may never actually end up in the story series for that character. This thing I wrote that has like a killer in it, and he shows up in her kitchen with a knife. Oh, it's so scary. That may never actually end up in any story because I was 15 and there were some problematic parts about this character, the bad guy. I'm like, I'm a little cringy now about. However, I could clean it up and then make that simply something to put online for free for readers. Particularly if I do actually get Amanda into, like, we talked about maybe putting her in the Bella episodic series because she's kind of tailor-made for episodes. Sort of like the Perils of Pauline, but it's Amanda.
Nice.
She can get herself into so much trouble, y'all. Very much like me when I was young.
I love the name. One of my best friends.
She eventually marries a man named Huggins, so it's Kissinger Huggins. So the puns are fantastic. Amanda Huggins. Amanda Kissinger. Do y'all get it? Yeah. Amanda Kissinger Huggins. Oh, the puns. I was 15 and it seemed brilliant to me.
My best friend is Amanda. One of my best friends.
Yeah, and I've had several good friends named Amanda too, who are always fun. They were always fun people. So, but like, it is kind of if I get the Amanda story set up in episodic, I would clean up the original scene to not be quite so cringy. There's only like 2 or 3 lines that I feel is kind of cringy. Clean it up and put it out there as promotional material of, hey, do you want to see, I'm coming out with these stories. If you would like to see the very first version that is, here I'm putting it for free for you. If you like that, may I direct you over to where you can get the rest of the stories. That is a good promotion, and people like that. It also humanizes us. Let's be honest. Let's be approachable and show like, yeah, I wrote this when I was 15, y'all. Be kind. You know?
And like, also you can use it as a form of beta testing to see what people like and don't like about it. Like I hear a lot of writers talk about they don't want to share, a scene or a partial of a story that they're now trying to rework into something else for fear of like, oh, it's derivative stuff. It's like, okay, let's look at one of the more popular art forms right now, manga. Mm-hmm. Both of the mangakas for One Piece and D. Grayman are known to have essentially the year before both of those manga series came out, they did a version of these that is nothing like what the end product eventually became. It's not a prequel. It's not it's very much like, this Amanda piece where here's the proto versions of these characters. Here's the proto version of the story, what I originally tried to work with. And people are fascinated with it so that's what they were first thinking. They don't look at it as derivative. They look at it as the proto version. It's not, oh, well, this actually tells us, what this character's secret is in the main series. Like, no, this is proto. It has nothing to do with. But they're always fascinated for that extra little bit of story. They like to understand the writer's ideas of storytelling to see if this is the kind of story they like. Mm-hmm. And so even if it's similar but ends up being completely different, that's still all right. They're not going to go, oh, you betrayed me. They only feel that way if you actually say, like, this is the prequel to your story.
Yes.
And it's not, like, if you go, like, here's a prior version of the story I had thought of, but I've changed and gone a different track. The worst case is you'll have to deal with a few fans who are like, but I want to see how that story went. And it's like, maybe I'll write them their own little ending sometime when I have some free time.
I have known some comic book writers who are like, okay, I found some sketches. Who was that person who was asking for it? And like, we'll literally email them scans of like previous stuff. Like, what's his name? Frank Cho. Frank Cho is pretty famous for doing that for fans, or even just people who read like, oh, I thought you were going to go this direction. And later he's like, here, I wrote you. It's a little one piece. Here you go. And just like literally will email one-off stories for someone or little drawings. Because I'm always like, Frank, anything you do with dachshunds, I am here for.
I love dachshunds so
much. It's like...
That's how you can tell when Frank drew anything in a comic book. Why is there a dachshund here all of a sudden? Oh, there's Frank's signature.
Yeah. Of like, Frank knows, like, that's how I ended up originally with so much of Liberty Meadows stuff from like all those long boxes people would sell me. Was like, I'm here for just Liberty Meadows with the Doxies. Like, let me draw you something real quicker. Thanks, Frank.
We all have a signature.
What a mensch.
Something. Yeah.
But like, Frank's like, let me take a picture of it because I got 3 other fans who love Dachshund stuff, and I'll email them. Literally, he has a Dachshund email list.
Cute.
Because occasionally he picks up various store owners and a couple of readers who love dachshund stuff, and we just get an email occasionally when he's in a good mood and he feels like it. Of like, here's all the dachshund doodles lately, because that's how dachshund people are, quite frankly. We love wiener dog jokes. It's always a pun. So yeah, but like that's what I mean about showing people you care. I will, even when Frank has done some missteps in his career and as a person, I have given him the benefit of the doubt and contacted privately of like, are you sure you meant it this way? Please reconsider. And Frank has then apologized or whatever. So,
this is a great idea for, again, content and like reaching out to people. What's your, like, seriously, what's your signature, your Dachshund thing? What's your Dachshund thing? Mine is, everybody knows this by now, the Northern Lights. They appear in every freaking longer than 1K story that I write. If it's Flash, maybe I don't have a space to do the cameo thing. But if it's longer than 1K, if it's like a short story or a novel, there will always be Northern Lights somewhere.
Yes.
Like it's a thing I do. I don't care. Like I love them so much. It brings me joy. It makes me happy. It's like astronomy but on Earth and sci-fi on Earth. It's that kind of feeling. And so yeah, it's my thing and that's what I do. And you know what? I am always sharing Northern Lights pictures anyway.
Yeah.
So reaching out to that people would be, reaching out to do something about it somehow.
Yes, to connect with people about this shared thing that you mutually love.
Yes.
And, like once you've connected with a group who, for instance, loves Northern Lights stuff, which there's a lot of people who love Northern Lights.
Oh, yeah.
Then it's like, oh, by the way, y'all, I've also have this story if anybody's interested. It has Northern Lights in it, so I thought y'all might enjoy it. Whether you're offering it for free or for cost, it's just to let them know it's available because we have this shared mutual love of this thing. Because let me tell y'all, every time at the library there was a single children's book with dachshunds on it, every librarian would either come and show me if I was in the branch, or they would send me a picture and email me to my work email to let me know there's yet another book with a dachshund on it. Because glory be loving dachshunds. That was back when I had a mini dachshund.
That's really nice.
And you know what? I never got tired of it. It never was like, no, don't send me anymore. It was like, yay, another library has the same one. Or like, if I found a new children's book with a dachshund in it, or frankly, older books, books for like older readers or adults with dachshund, you'd be sure I would send that to like all the buyers at each branch to let them know. I'm just letting you know. There's a middle grade book, there's an adult book, there's a contemporary literature book that features a dachshund. I'm just saying it's here. And if they had a little extra money, they'd buy it. They'd let me know, they'd tag me in it. So if, I'd get the book first, whatever, but it was, I wanted to know about all the stuff with dachshunds in it because I love dachshunds. But there were plenty of other patrons who would come in who also love dachshunds, so I'd be sure to get those books to them. It was just what you do, right? Like, I'm also, any murder mystery with, crochet in it, they'd also send to me once I learned to crochet. That's just how readers are. Nothing wrong with that. We love what's our hobbies. We love them when they're in there.
And like one thing I realized recently, of what's the through line for like all the romance stories books you used to share with me that I liked growing up. I was thinking back on them and I realized like what is it they all have in common, and it's that it's a demi-romantic story.
Yay!
It is always, that's what I liked about the cowboy and angel stories. That's what I liked about the historical romance, is because these are stories by their nature that had higher stakes for the characters. It meant that this writer had to spend more time with the characters interacting with each other before they even thought about getting with each other. And so you end up with a de facto demi-type romantic storytelling. And that was the actual feature I liked about it, even though I didn't recognize it about myself. But those were the kind of stories, and Glory figured out pretty early, like, the pacing of the romance part. So whenever she noticed a pacing of a romance in that form, she'd be like, hey, I think you want to read this book. I think you want to read this one. It was like, oh. But now I look back, it's like...
Chivalrous Love?
Mm-hmm.
What was her name? That it was a pseudonym for a writer. Do you remember? But it was like, it had those stones in it, and they were traveling through medieval Europe on... I don't remember what they were trying to do with this gemstone. But it was like Judith Devereux was the writer name. I don't remember her. I don't think that was her real name, because it was like one author had a whole bunch of different pseudonyms, so her stuff would be shelved in different places. But yeah, Judith Devereux, because Tom likes that kind of chivalric love where they may talk about love, but everybody keeps their boundaries.
Yay!
Because like, wasn't she like going to become a nun or something?
Yeah, that's right.
So she's not even going to entertain romance, and he's like, can I talk you into marriage? And she's like, it's a hard sell, buddy. So he just hired this knight to escort her to this place where supposedly they had this very important gemstone she needed for something. I swear to you, I wouldn't be surprised if it had time travel in it. It was such an odd story.
Nice.
But like, yeah, if it had that kind of chivalric love where there's not a lot of hot and heavy, I'd be like, here you go, buddy. You're going to like this story.
I think that I need to talk to you for romance because I want to read that genre. I don't want to struggle the way I'm struggling now because it just makes my interactions harder, and I don't want that. I want to support everyone the best I can, but have I ever read a romance? No, not really. Pride and Prejudice, and I hated it, and I hated it because I didn't understand the whole nonsense of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and again, it's a fine. You have to get the story in the way that paces the way the reader is interested.
exactly.
Yeah.
And just to put it to practice, Gloria, I sent you something with a dachshund in it.
Thank you.
It's a fellow writer on Instagram that has children's books with dachshunds, and I was like, I know someone with a book with a dachshund. I will send it to her.
Yes, Tom is all the time sending me Instagrams with dachshunds in it. Anything cute and dachshundy, I'm here for it. They're ridiculous animals, y'all. I'm just saying. And I'm here for the comedy. So
they think they are bigger than they are. That's all I'm gonna say.
they are absolutely convinced. And the crazy part is sometimes they're able to convince other animals that they are, in fact, as big as their ego thinks they are. It is entertaining. But I like how ridiculous dachshunds are. And at a certain point, dachshunds even have kind of a sense of humor about how silly they are. They know they're kind of odd. So I like that. Although I'm here for corgis too. I can't imagine why. It's like there's like a trending or something about the similarity of those.
Stretchy dogs.
So it's not when it comes to like marketing and stuff, it's not as bad as I think. Because as soon as I know, I like you just said Dachshund books. I was like, okay, I know someone, and I immediately. Right. So it's not as bad as I think I am. It really it's
just you're trying to find. I don't remember what the term is. But I want to say like jump in points for your potential readers. What is it that would interest them? Because you never know where all the rest of things that are actually what they're interested in. Most of the time, they don't know. I mean, there's a reason why Spider-Man sells, even though Spider-Man stories are across the range of everything under the sun. But people still check it out because, like, well, I like Spider-Man. Let me see if the story's for me, and they'll drop out when no, it's not. This one's not for me. But it doesn't make them stop liking Spider-Man. Right. It's just okay, this one's not with the rest of them.
They're not mad at Spider-Man for telling a story they don't love. Like they're like, oh, this one's just not for me. I don't, or, oh, now they brought in Green Goblin, hard pass. Like I've literally heard that from a customer at the comic book shop. Oh, they brought in Green Goblin, hard pass. And just walk on and go back to their, I don't know, Hulk stuff. And I'm like, you seem so prejudiced.
And like Maggie brought up earlier, that she has a story or two that has recipes in it. And she's had a lot of read-throughs, more so on those than a lot of other stories, because those recipes. And it's like, there's an entire subgenre, especially of mysteries, of, food mysteries. There will be food to make.
Yes. Oh, I love when they have food in these murder mysteries, these cozy mysteries of like, describe the food and this recipe had better make me a real dish. Don't give me a fake.
But people are not upset when, this isn't the kind of food mystery I like to read. They're like, oh, no, this one's not for me.
Yeah. And they just move on. They're fine. They're not mad. They're not even mad at the author. They're not mad at the publisher for marketing it the way they did. They're just like, it's not for me, and it's fine. They're not angry. They're not taking a grudge. It's good.
Right.
And they'll certainly try out that author the next time an opportunity comes and see, well, is this for me though?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're really looking for in that marketing is just simply give them an in. What is it that
sort
about
of like
your
the
story?
allowance of like how to get people to talk to you. Give them a way to strike up a conversation with you.
Let them then decide if you're the kind of person they like to have as friends. Do not sort of presuppose or try to, do everything for them. Don't parent someone.
Right.
I think, guys, I'm going to head out because it's getting close to dinner time and I'm hungry. My cat's
Go have your dinner, Robert.
Robert, it was lovely to have you.
So good to see you.
And thank you for sticking around. Would you like to do an outro?
Sure.
All right, give me just a second. I know I have Robert in here somewhere. I'm scrolling. Scrolling. If only StreamYard would let me have this organized like alphabetically, but no. I know Robert's here. Y'all can't mess. There he is. I saw like story detective. All right, Robert, you ready?
I am ready.
Let's do this thing.
I am Robert Jones, and my channel is The Story Detective. I've been a writer, a graphic artist, and I do part-time developmental edits. My channel has everything story-oriented, and I take all that, break it down, put it under a Sherlockian microscope, and then give it to the viewers to help make your craft journey a little bit easier. I also do tech reviews, and more content is on its way. My channel is a little bit on hiatus now, but I am stockpiling videos, and they will either come before or after I move, depending on when I finish up some other stuff first. So relaunch is in the works.
Excellent.
And
All right.
take care, everybody, and thanks for
Thanks,
having
Robert.
me. Until next time, my
All right.
tribes.
Let us know when you'd love to join us again. We'd love to have you.
Will do. Thanks, Glory.
Thanks.
Bye.
All righty. So, and then there were 4.
Yes.
Although, and that point about the jump-in point really does bring up a part that's often lost in marketing of you're not trying to summarize everything about your product, no matter what you're marketing. You're just trying to give people an interest.
A tantalizing bit to
Yeah, you
lead them
sell
in.
the sizzle, not the steak.
Because what was it? I saw once before of like you have a max, I think, of 3 things that you can say is the marketable aspects of any product. After more than 3, and everyone decreases a customer's interest in it.
Yes.
Because I think it's like at 7, you have like a 1 to 2% chance of a customer being interested.
Like essentially,
in it.
you're talking them out of it at that point.
Yes.
So 3 things. Top 3 things. There's anthropomorphic cats. It's a mystery. Third one, I don't know. What's the third one for Maggie's cat?
What do you call it? You know, it's a globe-trotting adventure.
Globetrot. There we're done. We're done. We're not saying anything more. You want more? You got to open up the story and decide for yourself. Them's the rules. I did not make these rules. Psychology made these rules. And try that with stories you like. Try pitching your story, not your story, but like stories you like, other people's stories, to someone you think that might like it. And try 1 aspect, try 2, try 3, try 4, 5. See what happens. Follow up and see if they ever actually open the story. Play around. Try your pitch and see if it worked or if it didn't work. And if it didn't work, ask why. If they say, oh, I just didn't have the time, that is called a brush off.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, if they're a cat lover and they're saying, I did not have the time to read a story about anthropomorphic cats, that's a brush off, y'all.
Yeah, when I told our neighbor last night in the car about the book with Night with Moon, his first response was, I wonder if that's on Audible. Let me go check.
Yeah, and tell them and send them the Audible link.
Because that's how he tends to consume them. So it's like, let me check. Yep, here it is.
Right. So practice on other people's stories with people you know, other readers, and see while you develop your approach. Start playing around with your ideas of marketing and promotion. You do not have to promote your own work when you are just starting out. It's okay to try promoting other people's stuff. You are perfectly reasonable to, on Twitter or Instagram, put like some other author's book cover that you like their book and want to recommend it, and write a quick little pitch. Try it out.
Okay. Yeah.
See if people interact with you about it.
I did
not
that.
have to try with yours.
I did that for Pride Month. I did my Pride book stack.
Mm-hmm.
And then I added a quote for each of the books, like why is that book there? Because it means a lot to me. It's like my all-time favorite books. That's why I was very picky with
Whoop.
which book
Doll, you
I was
breaking up.
gonna put there and why.
Doll,
So yeah, I book.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Doll,
am I?
you breaking
I'm
up.
here.
You were breaking up anyway, and I
Uh,
don't think you were even hearing us for a little bit there.
yeah, that was wonky Wi-Fi. Sorry about that, guys.
It's better now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're
Good?
saying you were saying why you had each of the stories
Yes.
in there that were particular to you.
Yeah, like my all-time favorite books. I just needed to find one that made the colors for the pride flag. But yeah, and then I just shared each book to the stories with a song that I think goes well with the book somehow.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was just sharing other people's books, and well, one of mine was there because reasons. But
Yeah.
I had a reason for that too. But yeah, I didn't find a purple book. I didn't.
Yeah.
No, for real, I didn't find one in time. I have one that I want to read, but I didn't read it in time for the Pride thing, and I was like, nah, okay, I have to do my own then. Okay, well, whatever. But I have a reason. But then again, it's like I did that. I share other people's works all the time. If I know of someone who might like something that I've seen around, it's like, hey, I saw that person, and I have a good memory, so it's like immediately I know who that is and how to find it and where to send it, and so I do that. So it's not as bad as I think. It's just that I'm aware that I'm a very introverted person, I guess.
I would just recommend practice and play,
Yeah.
and then see what you get good responses for.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can analyze what is it about this that was different from my other ones. And then practice it again and see if you also then get good responses again. You know, with like a different book or a different product or story or whatever. But like practice that approach and see if you get a similarly, robust response or not. Until you get confidence. You know, like this is what I'm trying to like pitch to y'all, to everybody, is play around. Make some really wild stuff on Canva if that's what, sparks your joy. Play around with the copy, with visuals, with anything. Have a good time talking about other stuff, particularly writer things, like other books, other stories, audio, whatever you got that you enjoy, and try pitching that. Try like promoting other people's stuff and see what gets responses to tell you what about your style is getting a robust response. And then we will meet back here in a month and we will talk about it. Including everybody in chat. If you're still there, which, the numbers say you are. So if you're there, let us know in a month. What is it? I got it open. July 26th is when we're going to do marketing and promotion.
Woo!
Nice.
And let us know if what you learned from your experimentation. Because I want to hear about it. I know Tom wants to hear about it. I'm absolutely 100% certain Megan and Doll want to hear about it. And we will, from there, we will then have a whole little round table again. So I feel like we're kind of wrapping up.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any parting words before we do outros?
Thank you. I think that's
You're
my
welcome.
I think that's my parting words. Like, thank you.
Never forget never forget the most important aspect is play. Play is how humans learn. If you're not playing, you're not going to really improve at it. So just try to find ways to have fun with it.
And make sure you document your marketing
Yes.
plan and your strategy and your efforts so that you can see whether it's, doing well or not. It's important to have it all written down in one place and make it clear to you. However, it's clear to you that you'll be able to understand what you're reading. That's
second most important thing, I'd say.
I definitely agree.
All right.
So, is anybody up for outros? They are absolutely optional. I just want everyone
Thank you
to know.
for teaching me, because I think I came here. Oh crap! My Wi-Fi is wonky, y'all. Sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for teaching me, because I think I came to this stream more for learning than sharing in this case. Marketing is very new for me, but yes, thank you very much for all the lessons. I find it very, very informative.
Well, we are very happy to help. And, Doll, as we were talking about before earlier today behind backstage, I think it's very useful for folks to have essentially a test subject or case study to talk about, because sometimes that brings it more home for people, if you will.
Yeah, you definitely.
But not everybody wants to be that. Not everybody wants to be a case study. So I definitely appreciate you volunteering over this past month.
I'm a happy case study to learn everything I need to learn. Like I said, I'm gonna do anything morally okay to make my stories go where they have to go.
Very cool. So, would anyone like to do an outro?
I'll do it before my Wi-Fi cuts me off.
Alrighty.
Okay, hello there, humans. I'm Dalcecil Runo. I'm a partially blind author, also known as the Ace from Space. I read primarily sci-fi, as you know, from all the streams that I've been participating on. And I also write short stories in different genres and a little bit of poetry. And my YouTube channel is taking a break, but some of my stories are available to listen to on my YouTube channel for free. And if you want to follow me and see what's happening in real time in the here and now, you can follow me on Instagram at Dalcecil Runo. Thank you.
Thank you, Doll. All right. Megan, was that it? No.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm so sorry. May I just go, hey, did you know that Megan has this chronic illness and disability tag? That's really awesome. And if you don't know, please do check it out.
I need to get my butt on the
I
recording.
will eventually get mine done. Guess what? I have chronic illness. It's taking me forever. So
yes.
It's to be
expected. I'll get there. So anyhow, and also, if you're not into YouTube, you could do, if you felt like doing the chronic illness and disability tag, you could do it on other formats. I'm just throwing that out there, but of course, Megan would absolutely love for you to tag her so she can keep track.
I'd also like to cut in and say there's the Pride and Prejudice anthology, and you two have a lovely, well, it's mostly Tom who has the lovely piece included in the anthology. So I would highly recommend checking it out. I have a piece there as well, and so do a lot of other great people. I highly recommend listening to the audio anthology.
I mean, I just recommend, if you're not already following Megan, wouldn't you love to follow Megan on YouTube so she can get to 100 subscribers and get a Vanity Earl eventually? I'm just throwing that out there. She's so close. 84. She literally, I think, needs 16 people.
Something like that. Math.
She is listed below. She's listed below in the description, so you don't have to write out this channel address. You can just click the link.
I cannot fathom how is it that you only got 84. Like what's going on?
I don't know.
I don't. It's probably because I don't stream that often. Like I hardly ever put out videos too. I'm pretty bad about that. I'm always on Charlie's stream, so I'm always there. I think that's the big one.
So, and then, all right. I hate putting myself in. All right, I'm gonna do it. Hi. My name is Glory, and you are on my channel if you don't already know, but I'm so glad you're here and you've made it this far. I'm impressed. We do this every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and next week, on July 5th, while everyone is recovering from the American holiday, the Americans are recovering. We will be talking about Pitches and Queries Part 2. That's right. It was so good. We brought it back. We're going to talk about Pitches and Queries again. It's going to go great. You should totally come.
Yes.
I have a feeling I'm actually going to get to tell some of my stories of how we came up with pitches for various products, just to give people ideas. And then we may take some other stories and write quick blurbs on the fly. It's a game our family literally used to play over dinner.
Nice.
Is when you're reviewing a book to actually give your 3-sentence elevator pitch for it. So we're going to have a good time, and we'd absolutely love for you to come. So if you are interested, please check and make sure that you have rung the notification bell so you will know when we start broadcasting. Beyond that, I can't think of anything else. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Every time I have to look at my face, and the whole thing, it's like I can't think of words. I swear I know how words
Relatable.
work. It's that. Yeah. So, but yeah, we are doing all sorts of great things. I have a Twitch channel, which I will be on this Thursday at 3:30 Eastern. I will be crocheting. The belt will be finished. I am very confident we're going to finish the belt this Thursday on air. It's going to go great. And so do check us out down below. The links to everything, including my Twitch channel, are down below, as well as the books we've talked about today are listed below, or will be very soon if you give me a few minutes after the broadcast. I got the Amanda Palmer one down there. And so, and I hope to see y'all, and I hope you've had a wonderful time. Thank you again for coming. And we're going to head on out.